Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode 68 of Two Dudes and Some Bullshit. My name's Dave McRae, coming to you live from the VoiceMann Studios in Toronto, Canada. He's Tony Michael in the window next to me from Atlanta, Georgia. We're watching Halloween H20 tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, we are live! Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. You've been waiting for this one.
Oh yeah, they have.
Oh, wait a minute.
Are we playing the song again on repeat?
Wait, what's going on?
I thought you were playing it again. It sounded like it was restarted.
Hello, hello, hello?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Wait a minute. We're okay, right? I think we're okay.
We're good.
Yeah. How do we all sound, folks? Do we sound okay? It says we're on. Everything's okay. How do we sound? Everything sound okay? Let me see here. Let's see what the chat room says.
We're all here.
Yeah, we sound okay here.
Cool.
Sound okay here. Somebody said there was an echo in the chat room. That's why I wanted to see. I didn't hear any echo. There was nothing on my end, but I just wanted to make sure that there was no echo coming through. I think it sounds okay, though. We sound groovy. Everything sounds good. That's always good. We're watching Halloween H20 tonight, ladies and gentlemen. The moment you've all... Well, I don't know. I don't know about that. But, Tony,
did we even do a video talking? I don't think we have talked about this one on the show yet, have we? I think this is the first time we're approaching H20.
Yes, this is the first time. This is the first time we're approaching Halloween H20, and I have not watched this movie in quite a while. By the way, it was a balmy. Now remember, it's Celsius I'm talking about here, but it was a beautiful blue sky, sunny, a little bit of wind, 21 degrees Celsius here. Hey Google, what is 21 degrees in Fahrenheit? Oh, Celsius and Fahrenheit. She's not going to know what the fuck I'm saying.
21 degrees Celsius is 69.8 degrees Fahrenheit.
69.8 degrees Fahrenheit.
Nice.
So it was
day.
It was a nice spring day here in May. Here in my
tea.
That's right. To celebrate my dad's, of course, my father passed away in 2011, but he would have been 78 today. So happy birthday to my pops, who's hanging out with Elvis Presley in the sky. No doubt about that.
Right. And if you guys haven't seen the video, you have to go check it out, because you have to understand, when we are in the presence of Dave now, you have to understand, Dave is the son of the biggest moron this side of Havana.
That's right. That's right.
For those who've seen the video, you understand the reference. You get
the
joke in the news reporter saying that about Dave's father. Dude, I almost spit out my drink when he said that shit. I was like, that is hilarious. And I'm thinking about that juxtaposed to 2020. No way a reporter would ever say that today. Oh no, freaking way.
It was a very, very different time, and in a lot of ways, it's very different time. I uploaded a video to my YouTube channel today with a few retro clips from my dad from it was about 1988. I think the 4 or 5 clips there were about the same year. And I also have, which I will share soon at some point, my dad, for those of you that don't know, was also on Jerry Springer. Now, before you start losing your mind, thinking your dad was throwing chairs at some naked woman with her tits hanging out or something, and Jerry. No. When Jerry Springer first started, in the early 90s, he was like a Montel Williams type of show.
Very chill show.
And then around 96, 97 is when that's when all that shit happened. So my dad was on, long story short, my dad helped run this charity called the Elvis Sighting Society. And in the late 80s, early 90s, there were a lot of Elvis sightings in and around Kalamazoo, Michigan. Is it Kalamazoo, Michigan? Or is it I think that's a place in Michigan. I might be wrong. Tabitha might be able to tell me, because she's out in Michigan.
Tabitha's from the big MI?
The big MI. Maybe it's somewhere, it's some other state. Maybe it is Michigan. Anyway, So my dad, there was a lot of sightings, right? It was a big thing back then because Elvis had only been dead for 10 years. Elvis is alive and well. Anyway,
Yeah,
my
that's
dad,
right.
That's right. So my dad started this story about how Elvis was actually alive and well and living in Tweed, Ontario, Canada. Okay. For those of you that live in Ontario or in Tweed or in this area, and you're like, oh, I heard about that. Yeah, my dad was the one that started that because my dad would drive between Ottawa and Toronto, and there's this sleepy little town called Tweed. And so he said Elvis is alive and well in Tweed. And then his buddy, who owns a restaurant in Ottawa, they started this Elvis site. It's a gimmick. It was a fake little thing. They had Elvis memorabilia. They had this red phone on the wall that Elvis calls, and they said they met Elvis and this kind of stuff. My dad actually was supposed to meet Elvis.
That really was a
the
big
year
thing
he
growing
died.
up.
Oh, it was huge. It was huge.
So, our whole child, like, y'all don't understand. Elvis sightings was like, it was the thing, man. Like, if
It
there
was a huge thing.
Trending wasn't a thing back then, but it was trending like constantly. Elvis seen here, Elvis seen here. You know, like, you don't get it, man. If you grew up then, you get it. If you missed that,
100%.
You missed out. It was
100%
fun.
Tabitha says there is a Kalamazoo, Michigan. Great. So that's what it was. So anyway, but it was a shtick. It was a charity thing. But my dad, I mean, if you guys have seen the video that I upload, I mean, my dad had great poker face, could be satirical and you wouldn't even know he was doing it. And sometimes I get accused of that too. Like, David, are you kidding? But anyway, so he started to write this. He started to write articles about this, and it was helping his buddy's restaurant as well. The Newport restaurant in Ottawa. It's still there, although it's in a different location now. Anyway. So Jerry Springer was doing, this is early Jerry, okay, before the Jerry, just regular show, was doing a show on Elvis, and they had found out that up in Canada, there was, apparently he's up there, and there's this Elvis Sighting Society, and this Earl McRae, and whatever. And some people knew who my dad was, obviously, because my dad had connections in the States, because he was there all the time, because of work and stuff. So a lot of them knew who he was. So what was funny is that they had my dad come on Jerry Springer. Now I'm letting the cat out of the bag now. My dad would probably be like, Dave, don't do that. But I mean, So my dad knew a guy named Bruce McGregor who was a high school teacher his impression of Elvis Presley was second to none. Unbelievable. Couldn't sing like him, but could talk like him, like you would think it was Elvis fucking Presley. I'm not kidding. I am not, and I don't mean some like, hey baby, I don't mean that. I mean like, that's Elvis Presley. Like, it was unbelievable. So they had him come on via phone on Jerry Springer as if he's Elvis in Tweed, Ontario. The whole thing, my dad's on Jerry Springer. The whole thing, my dad is selling it like you wouldn't believe, ladies and gentlemen. It was amazing. And I have that whole show digitized. And I could totally upload that.
You have got to upload that.
I have. So that would have been 1993. And there were other guests on there too. But my dad is like, Jerry, look, he is alive. And you'd believe it. You'd believe it because it's my dad's selling it. And I was like, Daddy, my dad was one of the biggest Elvis fans I ever knew. And because of that, I know a lot about him as well. And my dad was going to meet Elvis Presley the summer Elvis Presley died. He came this close to meeting him. There was a setup.
My parents were going to see him. We were about to see him in concert. Literally, Hartford, Connecticut was one of the next stops. I don't know if they were, or I think they were like 2 or 3 shows away from finally getting to see Elvis for the first time. And then, of course, he died.
And
I've got the tickets. I've got the tickets in a scrapbook. The Elvis tickets that
that's amazing,
dude. My father and my uncle spent the entire night outside in line. They ate butter. Bro, they ate sticks of butter to get through the night because they ran out of fucking rolls.
Dude, that is amazing.
And I got the tickets. I was like, dude, I told my dad, one of the few things that you have that I want your Elvis Presley tickets.
100%. So anyway, I have that digitized as well, which I will eventually share. And when you listen to the guy who's on the phone as Elvis, if you know Elvis, you're going to sit there and go, that fucking sounds like Elvis. Like, I'm not, that sounds like Elvis Presley. Not somebody being Elvis Presley. It sounds like Elvis Presley. Bruce McGregor, if you're watching, you sly little devil, you. Anyway, so, of course, it was, and that was part of the shtick, was part of the gimmick. The cat's out of the bag now because my dad's passed, but I'm sure my dad would want to keep it going. But Okay, so hey, Halloween H20.
Hey, listen, before we start, I've got something I need for you to watch. And if I forget it, I don't want to forget it now that it's fresh in my mind. Dave and I often talk about our childhood and like the shit we used to do with our friends and like how we used to like, you know, videotape shit, and we would have to make, you know, like masks and props and all this stuff. It just was so like, if I can get my shit digitalized here, and I need to show you like some of the fan films that I made when I was a young teenager.
Yes.
But there is this video that's on YouTube that's been up here for like 3 years. And I don't know how I just stumbled across it, but it's called Friday the 13th Teen Fan Made Horror 1986. Okay.
Okay.
You've got, Dave, I'm telling you, you are so going to connect with these guys because this was our childhood.
Right.
It's bad. I mean, the quality, it's not like, it's not
terrible.
like it's not the short films that you see on YouTube today.
Yeah.
But what I love about it is you could see these guys are making it it was a summer afternoon. They're hanging out. You could tell they were improvising as they're going along. And I'm like, I did this shit with my fucking friends.
I can't wait to see it.
You have got to see it.
I'm going to check it out.
And you need to do a
McRae
live on this.
Okay.
Seriously, because I think you're going to connect with how these guys did it, because it's going to remind you like, oh my God, we used to do this shit all the fucking time. And it was this fucking bad.
Right. Gotcha.
But we didn't care back then. We weren't worried about being criticized by the public and shit. You know what I mean? We were just doing shit for the fun of it.
That's it. That's true. Hang on. The movie conked out on me here. 1 second.
Yeah, mine did too. Did iTunes just crash?
That's weird. Yours did too.
Yeah.
Fascinating.
Hold on a second, guys.
Hang on a sec. My movie just stopped on.
Literally, like as I finished my sentence and you said that, mine went down too.
Maybe. Hang on, I'm gonna pause it. Okay, it's going again. 1, 2. Okay, I've paused it at 2 seconds. Okay, so I'll let everybody get set up here. We're watching Halloween H20, of course. Tony and I are watching it via Apple iTunes, so we're watching it digitally. We are 2 seconds into the file, just as the Dimension logo is coming up onto the screen. So I see about maybe half of the Dimension logo. It's still kind of shrouded in darkness and shadow, and that's where I have it paused.
Same.
So the logo has just come up and I paused it there. So if you guys want to get that all set into that exact location, we'll give you a couple of seconds here. This is going to be interesting. Halloween H20. And it's been a while since I've seen it, so I'm looking forward to seeing it.
I got to tell you, this is probably my favorite Halloween movie going experience. I saw it with a good group of friends from high school. It was a really fun time. You know what I mean? Of course, coming off of Cursed, that was not a high bar to meet.
That's true. I saw this in the theater with my brother Neil and Bruce back in '98 for the first time.
Ready?
Or the first time I watched it. Yep, let's do this. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Bum, 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 bum,
I love the throwback with Mr. Sandman. That was a great tone and a great start to the movie.
Oh yeah.
Where I rank this of all 11 films, it's right in the middle for me of the series. Probably more on the 5 side than the 6 side.
Right.
Oh. And as we're watching, guys, by the way, this whole opening sequence with Marion Chambers, right? That's her name?
Yep.
Full name.
How many seconds are you in?
44, 45, 46, 47, 48, 49. Do you need me to keep counting?
49. Where are you now?
50 to pause?
No, we're good.
Okay.
Marion's at the door, right?
Yeah. And watch very closely this whole sequence. When we see Michael for the first time, they actually use 3 different fucking masks in this opening sequence. They use the H6 mask, which in my opinion of the 3, they should have just stuck with the H6 mask because it looked better than the one they went with ultimately. You see the fucking weird looking slicked hair back alien mask, and then it finally comes to the H2O mask. And it's the H6 mask is when he first comes into frame and the camera's looking up at him.
That's right.
That's the only time you see the H6 mask. And then it's a quick cut. Then you see the alien mask. It's not the alien, but you know what I'm talking about, right?
I know what you're talking about.
Looks like a fucking alien. And then we finally get the H. I love that fucking car though.
It's a great car. Yeah, it is.
Yeah, the car that Michael ends up taking.
Yeah.
Michael would take a good car like that.
Gordon
Young
Levitt.
Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
Joseph
Holy
Gordon-Levitt.
fuck.
Yeah. This now, I mean, the opening of this movie is, you know, I don't have an issue with in terms of its feel. I mean, it's in terms of its setting. I mean, it's you know, looks like fall, feels like fall. You know, again, Halloween H20 was created because the series was a piece of shit, and they needed, if they wanted, because initially, the next Halloween installment after Halloween, The Curse of Michael Myers, was going to go straight to video. I think that was sort of the direction for which they were going in. And then, of course, Jamie Lee Curtis got involved. John Carpenter they were trying to get him involved, but he wanted too much money. I don't blame him. Want me to come back to this pile of shit series? And, well, you're going to fucking pay me then. Because at the time,
but H2O did resurrect the series.
100%.
No pun on because of what the next film was called, but...
No. It absolutely did. It was perfect timing. And it's a very... it is, look, the reason why I don't like Halloween H20 is for a lot of the reasons a lot of people do like it. But, you know, and again, I don't speak for everybody, but, you know, this movie I do understand has for many that are a bit younger than us, an emotional, nostalgic connection. There's an attachment there. For a lot of people, this was the first Halloween movie they saw in the theater. For a lot of people, this was the first Halloween movie they ever saw. And so this was their introduction to the character of Michael Myers in the world of Halloween. So I do understand that this holds a special place in a lot of people's hearts. And,
well, you and I have talked about this. I like the film, you know, and I like this arc of Laurie Strode better than what they did with the 2018 Halloween. I feel that the Laurie that I knew from 1978, that this is the Laurie who I would expect to be as she became a woman and later on in life. The whole Linda Hamilton, fucking Ripley, fucking gunslinging Laurie Strode. Look, I'm not saying there's nothing wrong with that for a badass woman fucking doing her thing with guns. Like I said, Linda Hamilton's the shit in Terminator, and fucking what's her name there in Aliens, right. Sigourney Weaver. You know, I fucking two of my favorite actresses and two of my favorite franchises. Right. You know, but I that was one of my big in the 2018 film with the arc of Laurie Strode that I didn't like. Whereas the way she's presented in this film, she still has that vulnerable side to her, right. But overcomes it and faces her demons at the end of the film. And I can buy into that.
Yeah, Laurie's arc in this movie, I didn't have an issue with. You know, when I think of Halloween H20 and the things I don't like about it, and the reason why I don't like about it, it has nothing to do with Laurie Strode or her character. There's a few decisions that I think the character makes, but would come down to just directing her not to do that, that I think are a little cheesy. But in terms of her arc, it's fine. We're at of course we are, if you're just joining us, we are 5 minutes, 20 seconds or so into the movie. Marion Chambers here is trying to turn on the lights. There's no power in her house. Of course, Michael is still in there. This was a movie, like I said, that asks you, this was the first movie in the franchise that took, now you could say, well, you know, what about Halloween 3? Okay. But in terms of the Michael Myers story, this was the first movie that asked you to forget that 3 movies in the franchise ever happened.
Yeah. First time it retconned.
And I remember thinking back in 1998, I was 19. I remember thinking, what? Like, what? Okay,
that's
like, what the hell is...
I thought the same thing when I walked out of the theater. I said, that was odd that they didn't mention Jamie.
Right.
You know, like, I wasn't upset, but I looked at my friends. I was like, maybe, and then I initially, I thought I missed it. Like, I was like, I must have missed a reference or something. And then when I rewatched it and realized, like, oh shit, they don't mention her at all. I felt the same thing. It was like, I didn't hate it, but I was like, all right.
Right. Yeah. It's again, I mean, this opening is the, and this isn't saying much for me, this opening, the first, what are we here again? We're 6 minutes, almost 7 to the, so let's say the first 10 minutes. I don't like the way Myers looks at the back there. I don't like the way he looks in the back. He just
It
looks like somebody.
It would look good for a photograph, but not in a movie. I get
No,
it.
he looks like somebody cosplaying as Michael Myers. That's what Michael looked like behind Marion. He doesn't look like Michael Myers. He looks like somebody dressed as Michael Myers. And a lot of the times when you get into the later sequels, or especially post resurrection, post curse, you know, there's a one of the things I don't like about this movie as a whole is it's a very much a product of its time. There's a very specific, almost, and I say almost, not quite, because we're not going quite to Scream, but there's an almost self-awareness to it. It's a fun horror movie. It's supposed
Kevin
to be,
Williams wrote it, which probably is a big
he's
reason.
uncredited actually. He had a hand in it,
Yeah.
but if I just checked Wikipedia, and actually he's uncredited.
He's not credited. Wow. Okay.
No,
but I know he had a hand in it.
He did. I think he did a couple of first drafts, or a couple of drafts. Excuse me, a couple of passes. Here comes the Halloween 6 mask coming right here.
I don't know why they didn't stick with this, because I will say it looks fine here.
Yeah, right there as he's walking.
And now here comes the alien. There's Alien, Michael.
Yeah.
And now we get to the H2O mask. Oh no, wait, not yet.
Yeah, that's and he and I will say that I do like his size. I like his size. I like Chris Duran's size.
Yes.
Yeah, size is fantastic.
Yep.
The size is terrific.
Yep.
That I will, you give credit where credit is due, and it's terrific. But if you look like this opening, it's got a it's fun. I mean, look, after Scream sort of revitalized the horror genre, and horror movies became, again, not totally self-aware like Scream. That Scream's a very specific sort of type of movie. But
psych, she's really not dead. She's coming back.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, right. But I was never I was never a fan of the sort of, I don't know, I don't want to call it a comedy. Hopefully the chat room kind of knows what I'm getting at. There's a very sort of funness to H2O. You know what I mean? It's like that. It's like it's got that, hey, this is, and you got,
it's like
LL
if
Cool
you and
J.
I had a small budget, this is what we would probably produce to the folks on YouTube. It's self-aware, it's Halloween feel, but maybe we didn't quite nail everything down.
Well, I'm going to disagree. I wouldn't produce something like this. I wouldn't want to. I would. No,
I mean the overall tone. You know what I mean? Like not like the story, but the aesthetic look.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I'm not talking about that. It's more of just the feeling
with
of
the actors and stuff, like Josh Hartnett. Like if you had the
feeling
funds,
of the film. It's just, well, but it just feels not hokey, but it's a product of its time. It's very yeah. Let me think a bit here and see if I can find the right words to intellectualize it a bit more. Of course, I love this here, this explanation for what happened to his body. They didn't find his body. I mean, that's it. That's the only explanation. They didn't find his body. They didn't find his body. Here it comes. Oh, no, I guess we already heard it.
I do like the score. I like the score a lot here. The orchestra score.
Yeah, that's coming here, yeah. Dimension Films release. Timestamp is 10 minutes, 40 seconds. Howard D sends in a super chat. Thank you, Howard. Who here knows that this film was first titled Halloween 20 years later? That's right. Also, the version of the theme is pretty decent. The title is yes, that's what H2O. But H2O, people call it H2O because there was going to be a subtitle, which was going to be Blood is Thicker Than Water. And that was one of the titles they were kind of throwing around here.
Of course, this is not Pleasance. We all know that. It's
not Pleasance. This is the voice actor Tom Kane, not to be confused with Tom Kenny. Tom Kenny is the, I think that's his name, is the voice of SpongeBob. This is not the same actor who does SpongeBob. It's a different voice actor. It was serviceable. It was fine. I think whoever they got in H18 was actually a lot better.
I mean, for the time, the guy was good. I had no complaints.
Oh yeah. No, it's fine. Yeah, it's they made Halloween like you were, it's got a feeling like it's, and I get it. And that's what some people like about it, but it's fun. It's it's a horror movie fun with, you know, some, I don't know. It's hard to explain. I just don't like the movie. I just, you know, and it doesn't feel like, I wouldn't approach it from this point of view, this sort of, fun. I would have made it more serious, and I certainly wouldn't have said it in California. I think that as soon as you get to California, it just goes downhill for me because it doesn't look like Halloween, doesn't feel like Halloween. You got actors in there from Dawson's Creek and Michael. I don't find Michael particularly scary. I don't find the movie particularly suspenseful. I think the shots of Michael Myers are largely, for me, it looks like Chris Duran dressed up as Michael Myers. It doesn't look like Michael Myers, you know, and you know, even some of the sequels I don't like, some shots, the way they were able to craft their shots and set up their angles, I believed it was Michael Myers. In Halloween H20, I feel like I'm almost watching a little bit of a self-aware film that is kind of spoofy, like House, almost, like we watched last week. Like it's a movie that's a little self-aware of itself, you know? Now,
yeah, it reminds me of a lot of Halloween 2018, how self-aware it was of itself.
This
and all the callbacks and nods to the entire franchise that they were supposed to be omitting.
Definitely. This scream from Jamie Lee Curtis here is atrocious. Because she screams and then she stops and then like takes a breath and screams again. And she's like, ah! Ah! It's like, oh God, I didn't like it. I remember people laughing in the theater with her scream. It's a nitpick, but it's something that I always remembered when watching this movie. Now, again, like any Halloween movie, there are redeeming qualities. There are certain things that I like. But as a whole, and obviously I'll mention them when they go along here. So Jamie Lee Curtis, obviously she's having the dream. We just saw, yeah, Laurie's throat. Here it is. Yeah. Ah! Ah! It just sounds fake. Sounds like a fake scream.
I think this was Hartnett's first role, or one of his first role.
It was one of his first roles.
He did this in The Faculty, in months of each other.
H.E. Pennypacker says, Dave, I believe a lot of older movies are considered good, not because they're actually good, but because people who grew up with them are blinded by nostalgia. Nostalgia is cunning, baffling, and insidious. I think that's a blanket statement. I think you are correct, but I also think you are, I don't think it's black and white. I think there are a lot of older films that stand the test of time because of how relatable they are, or they use certain motifs and tricks and tropes that stand the test of time. Whenever you can make a movie that, of course, if we don't want to talk about the horror genre, again, we're not talking about production value. We're not talking about, the visual look. We're talking about sort of the story, the execution. A lot of, listen, Halloween 1978 is dated as fuck. It's dated as fuck, but it's timeless because of its classic tropes and the things they use. It's like watching an old Hitchcock movie. It's like watching Psycho, or watching, Rear Window or Rope, or, you have to watch it. You also have to watch older films within their context. So you have to remember that you can't judge the way the movie looks or feels when it's 50 years old. You have to watch it and, it's like watching The Exorcist. I mean, there are things in The Exorcist that are a little dated now too, but you have to remember when this movie came out, and The Exorcist still holds up to this day, because of its themes, largely because of its themes and execution in terms of the certain horror tropes and things that are timeless, that are more psychological than literally practical in your face, so I do agree with you. I think there are some movies that are like that, for sure. Certainly people have emotional attachments to things. But I think there is some objectivity there that can be measured. We are 16 minutes, 50 seconds into the movie. Laurie Strode is talking to her son, John Tate, in the kitchen about Yosemite Sam. My pants don't fit. Ooh, you damn rabbit. But Laurie Strode's arc is yeah, it's good. And I just would have liked to have seen a more serious take, I think, in a movie like Halloween H20. And I think it just feels, I would have liked to have seen a little, I mean, it's a, yeah. And setting it in California, I think, was a mistake. I think it was a mistake. She doesn't even have to live in Illinois. She could live in Indiana. She could live fucking here in Toronto, Ontario. Somewhere where you can really utilize one of the most important characters in any Halloween movie, and that is the season. That is the look and feel of the autumn season. And I don't feel that here at all. We're coming up to the scene now where obviously Michael's image appears in the background. I don't like that. See his eye. And I don't
like the callback with the song here, though. That was another great callback.
Very nice. Great callback.
Something
that
H18 failed on miserably. I mean, I love the soundtrack, but there were some callbacks. I was like, damn, I wish they had done a few of those callbacks like they were, doing with the theme and whatnot.
Yes. Yeah. No, I agree. I think I agree with you, man. That was a nice little that was great. One thing that I do find very frustrating in this movie is how many times we see Michael's eyes. Or maybe not how many times, because I don't think it's every 5 seconds, but there's a couple of particular moments where we see his eyes, and that's a big no-no. I don't think you should be seeing his eyes at all, ever. And there's one scene in here where you see his eyes, and his eyes are kind of wide, like as if he's been punched in the gut, and he's like, oh, good one. I'm like, I don't want to see his eyes. We should never see his eyes. Never see his eyes. Of course, the CGI mask, which isn't Duran's fault, but why would you use a CGI? Why would you just not use, just don't use it. Just cut it. Just show your character and then show the close-up of his eye. Of course, there's also no explanation of how he can see. How can Michael see?
Oh, because H2 is still
H2 is canon.
Continuity. Yeah, see, that's right. H2 is in the continuity.
Now you could say, okay, but Halloween 4 he could see. Well, that's true, and that's always been a gripe for me in 4 as well. But at the very least, 4 had his hands burned. When you look at Michael's hands,
that he was burnt.
He was burned. He's not burned at all in this movie. He could take off his top and go have a suntan. I mean, this is like
that was one little attention to detail they overlooked.
All you had to do was look. I understand that, or what you do is you when you show his eyes, maybe when you're about to show the close up of his face, don't show his eyes. Why not? Like, who didn't think to say, hey, why don't we have his eyes fucked up? Why don't we have like some weird? He's got like it's sort of
serious bloodshot eyes,
or maybe he's like it looks like it's cloudy or something, right? Kind of like what they did with H18, but something like that, or like the skin is kind of what they did with H18, but different. Not like that, because that's for a different reason. Because Halloween 2 doesn't exist in the timeline of H18, so they don't need to factor that in. They just need to factor in the coat hanger thing. But why not some weird sort of he's like there's been trauma there, and it's like, ooh, that's creepy, but we don't see a lot of it, just shadows of it. Why are we seeing his eyes wide and bright like he's going for a fucking eye exam? I mean, I just, and okay, then where are his burned hands? Where are his burned? They're nowhere to be found. Nowhere to be found.
Yeah, that's my other gripe with Halloween 2018. I still wish H2 was in the new timeline that we're in, simply because like Halloween 1 really, now his body count's starting to climb up, but when you look at it from the beginning of the H18 film, he's just a dude who killed 3 teenagers on Halloween night. It's nothing like, ooh, wow. You know what I mean? Like, I felt like it took away a little bit of who Michael was by not having that body count there of the whole carnage of the night that happened in the first 2 films. Because when it's just the first film, it's like, all right, it's just a dude who went and killed a couple kids, literally a couple, 3 kids, and that was it. You know what I mean? And it's like, there's nothing really like, ooh, you know, scary about that. It's just a dude off his rocks. But when you add in the whole fucking night of what happened in Halloween and Halloween 2, yeah, now that just gives Michael a little bit more authority in my eyes, you know, in you know, how you present him as this evil monster. You know what I mean? Because that's what he's supposed to be. He's supposed to be this evil monster. But when you take H2 out of the equation, he's just a dude.
A lot of people feel the same way. Yeah, no, a lot of people do feel the same way. And I can I've talked to, I think we've talked about that too.
Yeah.
I can understand it. Certainly. And like, you know, up to this point, what are we? We are, the timestamp here, folks, is 22 minutes, 30 seconds into the movie. Up to this point, I mean, I remember thinking that, you know, I'm not off the ship. I'm on board. You know, I'm not like, you know, like, whoa, fuck, but I'm just kind of like, okay. It's largely when we get to, you know, when he gets to California and shit starts to hit the fan, and it just doesn't feel like Halloween. I think that's largely my issue with this movie. Well, that's one of the issues, of course, and I don't really feel a lot of suspense. I didn't feel a lot of suspense in H18 either. You know, the one thing that H18 had going for it was, of course, they set it in an environment that at least utilized some sort of fall and atmosphere. That doesn't make, you know, the movie's going to be great, because I have a lot of issues with that movie too. This one is, it feels, it just feels like a self-aware TV movie or something. I don't know. It doesn't feel like Halloween. It doesn't. I think the absence of Loomis is huge. I think the absence of Loomis is huge.
Well, yeah. I mean, you can say the same thing about the new one too. I mean, the absence of him is
100%. He is arguably more important than Laurie Strode. 100%. You could probably have a Halloween movie. Well, and I know we did have Halloween films without her, but in terms of like, he's arguably more important than she is, because he's the connection to him. He's the yin to Michael's yang. You know what I mean? In terms of the history going back to when he was 6, like the you know, all the way back, right?
Well, yeah, like
you could make the argument that Laurie is the yin to the, you know, as well, but it's from a little bit of a different perspective.
Yeah, like Geeked Out Turtle Fan 39 here. That's my point to why taking out Halloween 2 really takes away the whole Michael Laurie thing, because like he says he totally agrees. It was also the continuation of the night. By cutting out part 2, you're taking away the entire quest to kill Laurie, making it less scary. That's my whole point. Like when you take 2 out of the equation, it's like, well, he didn't really stalk her. He just was on this street. He killed three of her friends, and then ends up going after her and then gets shot off the fucking balcony. It's not like he stalked her in the hospital. So like, why would she I mean, yes, it would be a traumatic experience, but there really is no connection at that point between her and this guy. It was just, all right, you know, like she's not the sister, and they didn't go through the events of part 2. It was just like a fucked up dude. You know what I mean? Like,
yep. And this sorry, I'm going to piggyback on what you said there. This lighting here, oh my God. Look, now when I say this lighting, oh my God, I'm not saying it's not well exposed, well lit, and well shot, but it looks like I'm watching a movie of the week. It looks like a Hallmark channel. Like the way this is lit, it's not, and I know what you're thinking. Yeah, but Dave, it's daytime. It's not,
soft
no,
light.
but it's just,
soft light.
It doesn't, it's like, dude, no, this doesn't, I would not have lit this scene like this. Not like this. Not like this. I feel like I'm watching a Hallmark film. So in terms of, you are correct. You are right. But it's sort of a catch-22, because they didn't want the brother-sister arc. And right. they wanted to go back to that original intent of the character, which was Michael listen, it's not that he wasn't infatuated with her. He definitely was infatuated. He definitely was infatuated with Laurie Strode, and for reasons we don't know, we can only speculate on. But whether he was specifically chasing her is not really, you know, no, he was and he wasn't. He was very sort of enamored with these ladies on this street. And when you get to Halloween 2, that's why, you know, I've said it before, I'll say it again, I understand why Carpenter wrote it in there. I totally get it, and it absolutely works. I'm not saying it doesn't work. For those of you that love it and want it and miss it, I get it. I totally understand. The irony of it, though, is that it is actually completely unnecessary. Now, I know what you're thinking. Well, but you need something if you're going to continue on and on and on. No, I know, but yeah, I get it. But here's the thing, is that, you know, I've said it before, you remove the dialogue at the end of the movie, or, you know, change it a bit, and and have Laurie's dream about something else other than, you know, who's my mother, you know.
Cut it out. You don't even need it.
You don't need it. Or have her dream about the night that she just had. Like, you show her, you know, a clip of Michael smashing into the closet, and change the dream, change the dialogue in the car to something else, you know, just kind of tweak it a bit. Something that gets them to go back to the hospital. And that's it, because Laurie, here's why it's so irrelevant. The character of Laurie Strode in the movie of Halloween 2 from 1981 never finds out that she's the brother of, that she's the sister of Michael Myers.
Afterwards.
No, never in the movie ever.
I mean,
it would be off screen. It would be when we never see the character find out that she's the sister. Right. We never get that payoff, so it's irrelevant. It's only for the audience. So we never see Dr. Loomis say, and not that he would right then and there. Right, it's never revealed to her. So. Who cares then? Who cares? Just have it that he was just she got away and he's enamored, you know, and you know,
hammered.
Or hammered. Yeah, exactly. Look at this lighting here. This looks like I'm watching this lighting in this
it looks
cafe.
Like it looks like what I have to do, because like when you light for photography and when you light for video, as you know, it's different. It's totally different. A lot of people ask me, why do I have my photos a little bit brighter? Because I'm presenting it as a photo. When you're presenting a photo, you want the details of that photograph. You don't want really heavy shadows. In a movie, you want the shadows. You need to sell that as far as the tone, like what you're talking about. And I agree with you.
Especially a movie like this.
It's just too soft.
It's too well because you're in California, right? So you have to light it like you're in the west, like you're on the West Coast. So everything's bright and sunny. Did they film this
in Cali?
Yeah, they filmed it in California. Oh yeah. So it's bright, it's sunny, it's soft light, soft exposure. There's no deep blacks, you know, there's no high, punchy contrast. And it doesn't look like a Halloween film. I think it like Halloween 6. Now I'm not a fan of Halloween 6, but that looks like Halloween, right? I mean, that's got
totally. They next to Halloween 4, they're second in line as far as aesthetic feel. Oh yeah, I feel like it's October. I feel 100%. Like they're at the end of the month, and it 100%. Totally. I like you. I don't like the movie, but I like the aesthetic look of Halloween.
That's
6.
right. That's right. So and then you go to this, and it's bright and soft, very soft light, almost what you would do with a. Well, like I said, it looks like I'm watching a movie of the week. You know, some Hallmark.
You know, I wanted Christmas to piggyback movie. Off of your nostalgia thing and the comment that dude mentioned earlier, because I forgot about that. The reason why this ranks 5th for me, middle of the road in the entire 11 movies of the franchise, a big part of that is because of the nostalgia and the feeling I had watching this with my friends that night. Right. That plays a big factor in how I feel about this movie, because when I watch this, even though I'm watching it with Dave right now and he's ripping it to shreds, I still go back to my mind of seeing it that night and just having a fucking blast with my friends watching this movie. It was just, it's so, for me, it will always have a good experience, but it's not going to be in my, like, I put Halloween 3 above this movie.
Dude, you know, I think the movie Wing Commander is a big pile of dog shit, but I remember going to see it with my friends in 98 and having a blast watching it, and just the fun of just watching that movie. I think it's a pile of crap, but yeah, it's,
but so nostalgia plays a big factor. You know, it really does. You can't minimize that.
No, not at all. Not at all. But there are movies that are older films that are objectively great movies. Even if you remove the nostalgia, they are objectively great movies. And you can measure a movie because there is a general consensus, right? There's a general consensus from those that have seen the movie, even from those that watch the movie today, when you watch it within its context and you pay attention to, the things that are timeless, like I said. And there are great examples of that, even beyond the original Halloween. And I'm not saying Halloween is the greatest movie of all time. It's not my favorite movie of all time. But I think there are the tropes and the tricks that Carpenter used in that movie are timeless. They're because they are. Now, again, that doesn't mean they're going to scare you today or kids today like they did in 1978, because obviously, the desensitization of our society has happened, and we are more desensitized now, and we like things that are more gratuitous and violent, and in your face. But the principle of what was there, it's like the original Black Christmas, same kind of thing. Those things are timeless. But certainly the person, I think it was H.E. Pennypacker, he's not wrong. I mean, there are movies that do blind people as well, but usually those are films that there isn't really a general consensus on. Like something like Jaws, you can look at, and I think we can pretty much objectively measure its reasons to why it is a good movie, a well-made film.
Right.
You know what I mean? And we'll do that when we watch Jaws on the 4th of July.
Summer.
We are, for those of you wondering, we are 33 minutes and 12 seconds into the movie. And I always will give credit where credit is due. Hey, a couple of super chats. Let me get to these here.
Get to that.
Yes, $2 Toronto Freddy says, "Oh, fuck you, man. Halloween H20 is great." Podcast 1919 says,
he's
sends
doing
a super
your
chat.
Impersonation. Fuck
He is. Yeah, maybe I should get that up here. Here you go, buddy.
Trick or treat.
Oh, wait, that's the wrong one. Wrong one. Wait, here you go.
Fuck you, man. Come on.
There you go.
Come on.
Podcast 1919 sends a super chat. Thank you, buddy. He says, would you have rather seen Halloween Returns made? No, I didn't really like a lot of the things in that script. Howard D sends a super chat and says, who here knows that this film... Oh, right, I got that already. Thank you very much, Howard D. Geeked Out Turtle Fan 39 says, you're trying to say that it felt like it's for the MTV generation fans. That's a good way to articulate it.
Yeah.
A little bit. Not quite as MTV as Elm Street 4 was in 88.
Because MTV at this point was Jackass, Real World, Road Rules.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like that. This is like during that peak of all that shit. Viva
That's
La
right.
Bam.
That's right. But you are, where are we here? Where's the super chat?
Oh, TRL. I was trying to think of what was the big video show that with TRL. That's what
yes.
It was.
But Geeked Out Turtle Fan is not wrong, because that's sort of like, yeah, you're on the right track, right? It's got a very specific feel to it, and it is a product of its time. Listen, I mean, look, it's got that Scream vibe. I'm not saying it's the same narrative, the same story, or is even as far as Scream. I'm not saying that it's not. Clearly it's not. But certainly when you look at Scream, it sort of thrusted, I Know What You Did Last Summer, Halloween H20, Urban Legend, I Still Know What You Did Last Summer.
This is all like right in that run, right?
All right in that run there in the late 90s, and they all kind of had that fun horror kind of vibe to them, teenage fun bopper horror kind. And I just didn't like it. I wasn't feeling it. Not with Halloween. Scream I get, but with Halloween, I just think, when you look at, it just needed more of a grounded, more serious tone, more of a serious feel to it. Not a sort of tongue-in-cheek kind of feel to it. Because there's a bit of, tongue-in-cheek in this film, and I'm not a fan of that. I'm not a fan of the direction. And that's not a bad analogy. Jim Dorsey sends in a super chat. Thank you, Jim. Says, I feel like H20 is the most dated and has aged the worst for the entire franchise. I don't think it's held up well at all. Do you agree? Dated for the most franchise. Dated. I don't know. I think it's an awkward feeling film because it doesn't... it's not dated because it's a representation of its time. You've watched this, you're watching a late 90s film. You know what I mean? Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean?
I'd say dated. I wouldn't say dated. No, I wouldn't say dated, but it certainly does feel, like it's product of its time, which I guess could be dated in some degree. Jim Dorsey says, Michael driving from Illinois to California bothers me. Did he get stuck in traffic, pay tolls, get gas? Maybe he did. Where has he been for 20 years? That's what I want to know.
Wearing the mask.
Yeah, that's right, while wearing the mask. Intel Wild says, Rob Zombie's Michael Myers would have killed both the lady and the kid in the bathroom. That's true. Jason Myers sends a super chat, says, only reason this movie may be looked at as being a better one of the series is because a bunch of them, 5, 6 Resurrection zombies, were so bad. You know, it's a valid point. The bar for the Halloween franchise, folks, I mean, you know, let me just say this, and it's true. The bar for the Halloween franchise is relatively low. I mean, really low. Very low. It's not a high bar. It's not like they've had great installments. I mean, beyond the original Halloween and Halloween 2 from 81, that is beyond, like, that's it really when it comes to, then the rest of the series is divided. You know, I mean, it's all over the place. It hasn't really had many great films to, and not that many, you know, sequels do, right? You know, the further you go along, obviously that's not going to happen, but you're right. I mean, the bar is not really high when it comes to Halloween sequels. Brandon Barry sends in a super chat and says, my concern is how did Michael survive for 20 years? Yeah, well, yeah, exactly. And then last super chat to come in here from a few moments ago was from...
Oh, yeah, that's the one I want to answer because I can totally answer that question.
Fliner. Okay, I'll let you answer it. We'll see here. Thank you for the super chat, buddy. Says, if they include H2 in the H18 timeline, how would they have explained Michael surviving the explosion? That's venturing into total supernatural territory. Take it away, Tony.
Not necessarily too true. A lot of people did survive the collapse of the Twin Towers when the Twin Towers collapsed, okay? How attention to detail they were about the eye, from the, you know, him getting stabbed into eye, they played into his injuries from the first film.
Right.
You could have played into it that, yeah, he survived whatever pocket he was in. It threw him back against the wall. Yeah, he suffered some burns, and they could have played into that with his character now, like they did with the eye socket and things like that. So you totally could have made it a believable story because people have survived explosions. People have survived fires. That's not an uncommon thing. So you still are out of the supernatural territory.
I think I agree with Tony. I think as a writer, if I was approaching this, I would know that that's something I have to address, or I don't have to address it like they did. I mean, literally, the throwaway line in H2O is arguably worse than the one in H18, although they're both really bad, right? So the throwaway line in H2O is, they never found his body, and that's it. It's just the guy. He's just walking down the hall, and he's like, they never found his body, and that's it. Oh, okay, they never found his body. Okay, great. You know, and then the H2O or the H18 one is, of course, it says, no, that's just something, you know, people made up. You know what I mean about, you know, the brother-sister thing. So
I mean, that line.
Oh, it was terrible. It was absolutely terrible. And here's what's funny is here's what's even more funny about the throwaway line in H18. That is actually irrelevant from a writing standpoint because you're saying that the movie where that was revealed in doesn't exist. So there would have been nowhere in the universe that they live in would people think they were related. That is clearly for the fans, which I understand why they did it, but it's kind of ironic if you think about it because the movie that it was revealed that they were brother and sister doesn't exist anymore. So why are these people talking about it? Why is this even a mention? It's for the fans. It's for all those people that go, oh, okay, I guess it's something. Hey, Bob, it's something people made up.
Basically, what you're doing is belittling the intelligence of movie fans who need to have it explained to them that they're no longer brother and sister.
Right.
I mean, really, that's ultimately what you're fucking doing as a writer and a production company, and what you're showing to your audience.
Right.
You have no faith in your audience that they will pick up on the fact that, okay, they're not related.
But I would say that from a writing standpoint, Tony's right. The explosion thing, you can, if they wanted to, they could have had Michael burn to you know, I mean, like really burned, and they could have had him in a hospital.
They could have created a scene.
They could you could have done that. I mean, there's a lot of things you could have done around that. I think the one that is most problematic, of course, is the brother sister arc, which of course they decided to keep because this is in Halloween 2. But it's things like this, like, okay, this is cute. I get it. It's cute. And Janet. Yeah, it's cute. I get it. And there's the same car from Psycho, and it's look.
Is that the exact car or is it the model?
I think it's the exact car.
That is the exact car. Okay.
I think so.
It's a little wink.
She looks great. She looks great, though.
Janet
She looks great. Yeah, she looks great. She looks beautiful. She looks great.
She's missed. Very missed.
Oh, yeah. Well, she died. She lived for another, I think, 5 or 6 years.
5 or 6 years after this. Yep.
Yeah. And it's nice. I like it. And it's cute that they gave her the line of, I guess everyone's entitled to one good scare. I like it. It's cute.
Oh, callback,
Yeah. Yeah, it's cute. It's
and there's
cute.
a little bit of the Psycho underscore you hear, with the orchestra. I mean, it's not the theme, but you can kind of pick up on what they're doing here with the melody. Like, oh, okay,
that's right.
What you're doing.
That's right. But
yeah, someone said something. I'm sorry, man, because there's so many people chatting tonight.
Yep.
But I do agree with whoever said this, and then someone was adding a person agreeing with them. I agree with them. Halloween Kills and Ends, I think, are the best titles of the whole franchise as far as sequel goes. I do like the Kills title and Ends title. I
like them too. I liked Kills.
Whoever said that, I'm sorry, I can't get your name, but I agree with you on that. Yeah, 100% on that.
Yeah, when it was announced that it was going to be Halloween Kills and Ends, I did a video on it, and I came right out of the gate and said I love it. I like it. Yeah, a lot of people don't. It seems to me that a lot of people like the title Halloween Ends, but Halloween Kills is generally mixed.
Timestamp, we are at 43:15:16. I love me some LL, man. LL's cool.
LL Cool J. You know what LL Cool J stands for?
No, but you're gonna tell me.
I am. Ladies love Cool James. I believe that's what it stands for.
Do you know who discovered LL Cool J and gave him his big break?
That was me in 1982. No, I'm just kidding. Who was it?
You're close to the you're close to the year though. Holy fuck. It's really close. It was Adam Horowitz. I always fuck up his last name. Anyway, A-Rock.
Yes.
A-Rock from the Beastie Boys. He was in the Def Jam's not Simmons, but the other guy from Def Jam. He was in his room going through tapes, and he found the LL Cool J tape, and he told oh my God, I can't think of. I know it's Ad Rock, guys. I'm trying to. Rick Rubin. He told Rick Rubin. That's what I was trying to think of. Rick Rubin, who owned Def Jam, to like, you need to sign this guy. You need to make it happen. And then Ad Rock actually took that song. He dropped a new beat on it, and that became LL Cool J's first single. And here we are.
Right. Tabitha Short says, did you Google that fun fact about LL Cool J just before this show? No, I didn't. I've known that for years, actually. I saw an interview with him like, I don't know, 20 years ago, and he mentioned it. So no, I've known that for a long time. That's apparently what it means.
It's such an 80s hip hop name too.
Yeah,
it
ladies
really
love Cool James.
It so is.
And listen, LL Cool J. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of how they utilize.
And it's not his fault that they're doing this. They're like ruining the scene. Like there's no, I don't know. With
There's
Michael
no
standing back there,
just standing there. It doesn't.
It's like I like LL's performance. I do agree that
he's a good actor. He's fine.
They didn't execute him with Michael properly. It was just not written well. You know what I mean?
No.
I do agree. Like there were some parts of this film, like I do like the film, but like this, it's like he's there, he's gone, he's there, he's gone. Like,
well, here's what's so dumb though is that he comes around the corner, he's staring at him, and we see Michael then go like this and back away. We shouldn't be seeing him back away.
Exactly.
Know your source material. You know your character. Yeah, know your character. What should happen here is that, have him walk out and, look around, have Michael behind him, do that classic sort of, kind of he moves away, comes back and he's gone or something. You don't have to do it exactly like the scene with Annie in the original, but we shouldn't see Michael duck away like he's playing peekaboo, or something like that. It's not something that I'm a big fan of. I actually don't like Michael in this movie at all. I don't like the mask. I don't like, no offense to Chris Durand. I'm sure he's a nice guy.
Again, he's listening to the director. You know what I mean?
Of course. But I didn't think, right size. They got the right size. He's probably the best size out of all of them, as opposed.
I was going to say that. He's the best post Nick Castle.
Yeah, size. Even James, although James Jude Courtney is great, and I loved his, the portrayal. He's a bit taller, right? He's 6'2" or 3,
about 5 inches taller than Nick Castle.
But Chris Durand is actually
he's right there. I think he's 6 feet. I think he's only about an inch or two taller than Nick Castle. Yeah. I like this scene. I like this buildup of him walking towards her. It's lit well. The music is good. I was hoping they might have thrown in the dun, dun, dun.
Yeah.
But then you got the other theme going. But then as he gets closer, I thought it lost something for me. You know what I mean? Like, I wish they had kept that distance, and then, you get the cheap.
I think what should have happened there is that instead he should have just stood there.
Yeah.
I think she should have looked. Yeah. And he's standing there. And he's just standing there, and she is there, and she's looking at him, and she's closing her eyes, and she opens again, and he's there. He's there. You know what I mean? And he's not going away. And then she closes her eyes, and, of course she gets into it. But the walking, I don't know. I was never a big fan of his walk.
That. No, because what they could have done just that, like the way you just described it. Yeah. She's closing her eyes. Maybe the camera gets slightly closer visually for us to see, to make out the silhouette of Michael, but not for her. It's still the same distance. And then there's the jump scare with I forget the guy's Alan, whatever his name is.
Yeah,
Alan Arkin, whatever.
Alan Arkin.
I think that's. Then he
no, not Alan Arkin. What's this guy's name?
What's this guy's name? Shit.
His name is Adam Arkin.
Adam Arkin. Thank you. I was close. And the jump scare, and then she looks over his shoulder to see if Michael's there, and Michael's gone. Right. That's how they should have done the scene.
Yep, something like that. Yeah, I would have been down with that.
I like the Scream 2 callback or cameo. That's what they're watching.
Oh, yes.
Scream 2 cameo with the other Dawson's. No, not Dawson. She was Buffy in that time frame.
Sarah Michelle Gellar.
Yeah.
Good old Sarah Michelle Gellar, folks. Sarah Michelle Gellar. Let me just go back, make sure I'm not missing any super chats. A couple of super chats did come in. Austin Payne sends a super chat and says, I like the relationship between Laurie and John in this movie. It feels organic. Still got you on a $12 Sabres beer. You still got me on a $12 Sabres beer? I'm not sure what you mean by that.
I'm not sure what that means either.
Still got you on a $12 Sabres beer. Doc Evil King 03 sends in a super chat and says, H2O is a great movie. A lot you say, bro, makes sense. Thanks very much, Doc Evil King 03. And then Smith Grove sends in a super chat here, and Smith's Grove says, what is your guys' Halloween timeline? For me, it would be, if I'm going to sit down and watch Halloween, let's say I wanted to watch some Halloween films, I would definitely watch the first movie, no shock there. I would watch the second, okay, well, it depends, because for me, as you guys know, the original film was supposed to be a one-off film, so you can watch it. You can watch Halloween, the original movie, through the lens of its original intent. So you can just watch it as, at the end of the movie, Laurie's arc is complete because, oh my God, it was the boogeyman. That's her arc. She goes from not believing to believing. The end of the movie, Michael being gone is not to set up a sequel. He's gone to bring that message home. Oh my God, it was, and it's this Hitchcockian ghost story, Twilight Zone kind of film that, whatever. You can totally watch it through that lens, which is what it was supposed to be. Or you can watch it through the lens of it's setting up a sequel and the night continues. So which lens I look through all depends on how I'm feeling. But for argument's sake, if I'm looking through the lens of to watch more than one movie, I would watch the original. I would watch Halloween 2. That for me is really where the series ends. I think that is the perfect ending, the brother-sister arc, which I don't think is needed aside. That I think ends the sort of the story nicely. I like part 2 a lot. I think it's not, I think it's far inferior to the original, of course, for various reasons, as I've mentioned, but I like it. I like it. And I think it's a good ending. And I think the genius move to have it pick up where the first one left off is great. And then if I wanted to continue further, if I felt like I wanted to keep going, I would watch Halloween 4. I think Halloween 4 is, I don't love part 4, but I think outside of 1 and 2, it's the best sequel they've done. I think it's probably maybe even depending on how I'm feeling, you know what I mean? Like I like 4. And I think for me, the series then ends with Jamie at the top of the stairs. I think she's just at the top of the stairs. No, boom, cut to black. That's it. Because 5 is just a god awful shit show. Tony, what about you?
How would I watch them in order?
Yeah. Like how do you see the series for you?
I see it in 2 trilogies. Like Dave said, 1, 2, 4. That's if I'm going to watch it in 3 films, I'm going to watch those 3, and that's it.
Nice.
Or I'll do 1, 2, H2O, and that's it. So that's usually the sequence that I go in. Dude, when we watched we did Halloween 5. That was like the first time I've seen that movie in years.
Oh yeah, same.
I'll watch Rob Zombie's Halloween as a standalone, just by itself. There's no reason to do it as a series. The new trilogy or timeline, quadrilogy, whatever, is to be determined. I don't know because I don't know how good Kills and Ends is going to be. I don't know how I'm going to feel about it. So as of right now, if I'm going to watch multiple Halloweens and if I'm going to do it in a story, I'm going to do it either 1, 2, 4, or I'm going to do 1, 2, H2O. And that's it for me. Gotcha.
We're at the scene now here. We're 52 minutes, 40 seconds into the movie, roughly. Laurie Strode is on top of her man, about to explain to him that
I will admit, she still looks great to this day, even with the gray short hair.
She looks great. She looks great. She's beautiful to this day. She looks great. I liked this scene with her telling him
the backstory,
the story. I just didn't. I don't know if I would have. I wouldn't have had him play it off like it was nothing. But anyway, that's just me. But because again, it's that. Oh, she's telling the story. She's telling the fucking story. Hey, fuckers, she's telling the fucking story. Listen. Just turning it up here in my headphones. And now she's the headmistress of a very posh school. Let me go back here to a couple of super chats. See if we can get through these. Super chat from Toronto Freddy says, Dave, I'm trying to find an artist who will do a pic of Michael undressing the paramedic and himself in the resurrection opening. That'd be amazing. Yeah. Power Packers 90 says, agree, have great memories of seeing Rob Zombie's H1 with my high school girlfriend. Movie is still a shit show. There you go. Oh yeah, for sure. For sure. Jake Messman sends in a super chat. Thank you, buddy. Says Halloween is a movie in the Scream universe, but Scream 2 is a movie in the Halloween H2O universe. Always thought that was funny. That's kind of funny. Yep, kind of funny indeed. Kind of funny indeed. Oh my goodness.
Ryan Kinney, 1, 2, and H2O is a good trilogy. I love how Laurie had enough and ended it. I agree. They messed it all up with Resurrection. I 100% agree. Resurrection I don't own it. And when we do Resurrection, I'm only going to rent it because I don't want to own it. And it's going to kill. I'm hoping that Netflix might get it so that I don't have to rent it and I can just watch it off of Netflix.
One of these days, I have Resurrection on DVD. And people are like, why do you have it on DVD? I bought it years ago when it came out because I wanted, at that time, I considered myself a completist. I don't anymore. I only buy the shit.
That's it. Only buy what you want to watch. That's it.
Like I don't have The Last Jedi and I never will. But anyway, so I do have Resurrection on DVD and I've joked several times. I've uploaded photos. I've even, at the beginning of some of my videos where I'll have like a lighter and I'll have the thing and I'll be, faking of burning it, but one of these days I'm really going to burn it.
You so should. Dude, you gotta burn it, and I almost was going to say Sinead O'Connor, but it's not Sinead O'Connor. It's you got to burn it, and you got to have playing over it that Enya song, Enya.
Oh,
Only Time.
Enya. Yeah. That's right. That's good. I should.
I just had this
That'd be funny.
Dramatic song playing while Resurrection.
That's right. That'd be funny.
That would be hilarious.
Oh, a couple of jump scares here. Now they've just ran into LL Cool J. guy kind of sounds like David Schwimmer. Adam Arkin sounds like David Schwimmer.
A little bit.
There's
I can
no
hear
reason
that.
to get upset now. Just calm down.
We were on a break.
That's right. That's right.
I had a huge thing for Joni Lynn O'Keefe. Not even gonna lie.
This girl here?
She's still very attractive. Yeah, Jodie Lynn.
She's very pretty. Yeah, I
She
remember
was-
thinking
she
when I
went
was
from this to the Don Johnson TV show for a minute too.
Oh, okay.
The one with Johnson and Cheech Marin.
Yes, I think I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, she's very, very attractive, and especially in like '98 time frame. Whew, yeah.
Yes. Doc Evil
there's
King
the,
03
Eric-
says you and
Eric
Tony are
Ford.
great broys. Always well said. Thank you, buddy.
I always thought they casted this dude because he looked like the kid who plays Eric Foreman from that '70s show.
Well, the chat room
striking similarities.
The chat room can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe this nerdy kid, in an original or in an original idea or early draft of the screenplay, one of the ideas was to have he was going to be playing a copycat killer. I believe he was going to be the copycat. Halloween H20 was going to have that angle to it. And I believe that he was the kid that was going to be that guy. I stand to be corrected, but I believe that is the case.
I'm so glad they didn't do that.
Yeah. Well, we're coming up to the scene now with the CGI mask. Now, this is irrelevant to me. You don't need to show the if I walked into the room and I said, and they said, well, Dave, here's our options. We either show the CGI mask or we don't. I'd look at that. Even in '98, it was garbage. I'd say, then cut that fucking thing out. Just go to the shot of his face and then cut right to the close-up of the reflection of himself in Michael's eye, which I think is fucking stupid anyway. But at least it doesn't show the CGI mask and how awful that piece of garbage is. So it would make more sense to just remove, just remove, now this shot. Don't go to that shot. Don't go to that shot. Just cut to this shot instead. Cut to that shot instead. I understand that. Yes. Now I understand that you move, okay? And as you move, there's a CGI mask. He goes like this and he bumps into him and he's already wearing the CGI mask. I get it, but it's brief. It's quick. It's fairly quick. So you cut to his reaction shot looking. Don't then cut back to Michael. And so we can see him again. It looks atrocious. It looks awful.
It makes the mistake in 4 with Surfer Michael Myers look like that mask would have been better than the CGI shit.
But it's strange, and it doesn't hold. It's strange. It doesn't within the confines of the narrative. It's like if I'm looking at this seriously, I'd be thinking to myself, what is he like? CGI mask aside, I would be thinking in the actual narrative itself, what's he wearing? What does he have on his face? What has he done to his mask? I mean, yes, we know it's a CGI mask, but it looks so weird and strange. I would never have included that second shot. That second shot was completely unnecessary. He turns around, you see it for a brief moment, you cut to the reaction shot, and then you cut to the close-up of his reflection in the eye, and away you go. You don't need that other shot. You don't need it. I would have sacrificed that other shot to improve the belly laughter I was about to get in the theater from that. Jesus. Just atrocious. Michael King says, okay, it sucks. Move on. I'll fucking move on when I want to fucking move on, Michael King. You don't like it? Get the fuck out, buddy.
Damn.
Busting your balls, Michael. Calm down. I don't like seeing his eyes there. I hate seeing his eyes there. I don't want to see his eyes, man.
We got Creed on in the background. Was
that Creed? Was it Creed?
That is Creed. What's this life for? That was the ending song, Creed.
Oh, that's right. Frank Reicher sends a super set. Says, Dave, you're wrong. It's a de-aged mask. It's a de-aged mask. That's a pretty nasty gash. That's some great stuff. It's great makeup effects there. Props to the makeup effects artist.
What they really should have done, since they were going with Creed in this movie, they should have had the first moment with Michael and Jamie playing or seeing each other for the first time with arms wide open.
That's right. That's right. I wonder what this mask would have looked like if they didn't spike his hair up. What would this mask have looked like if his hair was back, or if they had tweezed it and made it more matty and ratty? I wonder what it would have looked like. But yeah, see there we saw his eyes again as he's stabbing her with the knife. We see his eyes. I don't like seeing his eyes. And here's the thing. It's unnecessary to see his eyes. It's not like, well, I guess they had to show. No, they didn't have. It's all in how you light the scene, folks. You don't have to see his eyes.
I do like I like the overall payoff of the discovery with Josh Hartnett and Michelle Williams when they see Jodie Lynn hanging. I thought visually
that's
that
good.
was really really
that's
cool,
fun.
very creative. I like
that's
that.
fun.
And their reaction was just perfect.
Yes. Yeah, it was fun seeing the blood streak here along the floor. That's kind of fun. Michelle Williams. I don't want to wait till
I was waiting for it, man. I've been waiting. I was like, man, when's he gonna get to the Dawson?
Now, when I say that it looks like Michael Myers, excuse me, walked onto the set of Dawson's Creek, water went down the wrong tube. It's not just because of Michelle Williams. It's because of the lighting. It's because of the soft light, the brightness, not here in this scene. I'm talking. Oh, and I don't like the way Michael's standing there. The way he's just kind of there like this.
Bullshit head
tilt.
Yeah.
It just, and he's got the knife out to the side. Like he's like, see, I've got the knife, folks. I've got it. I look at it and I'm like, it just looks like a cosplayer dressed up as Michael Myers to me. It just really does. And the more we see his eyes, the more that is evident to me. I feel like I'm in a convention walking by some guy named Ron. Like, hey, Ron, how's it going? He's like, hey, what's up? And he's dressed as Michael Myers. I'm not feeling it. I'm not feeling Nick Castle. I don't mean Nick Castle's in Nick Castle, but in terms of that, ooh, that was good. See this whole scene here, we're not seeing his eyes. And he turns around like this, right? Yeah.
Don't we get two versions of the mask here too? Like we get the H2O mask and the alien mask.
Something like that. Look at that. There's the alien mask right there. That's so weird. That's what I mean. I see why you call it the alien mask.
It looks like an alien.
It's weird.
Love the score though. We're not quite there yet to where they ripped off Scream soundtrack. We're getting close to it.
Think how much cooler this scene would be when he's wearing that other mask. You're right. I didn't realize how often he had that other mask on in this movie. Oh my God. Yeah. You know what? I hate that mask, but looking at it a little bit.
You like it better coiffed?
Jeez, he's wearing it there. He's wearing it through this whole thing. Wow, they're cutting back. I never noticed because I haven't seen this movie in fucking years. He's got that original mask on that Steve Miner liked. Oh my God, I didn't even notice this. Yep. Guys, it's been like probably over 10 years since I've seen this movie. Are you serious, McRae? Yeah, I'm serious. I remember it very well.
I do. But I like the suspense. I like the buildup. It's good. Him going through the keys, and now this is now they cut back to the H2O mask.
Yes, but here's what I don't like when he's looking at her through the window. I love the idea. I love the idea of the shutting of the door and them coming face to face for the first time in 20 years, looking at each other like they did 20 years ago. Hey, bada boom, bada bing. Oh my God, there they are. Oh my God, there it is. But you see his eyes. And I know people in the chat going, Dave, we know you've said it already, Dave. You've said it. But I can't tell you how much it takes away from the coolness for me of the, oh my God, when you see his eyes, his beautiful brown eyes, just kind of, or blue or whatever they are, looking down at Lori like, hey, baby. Like, no,
Envy, you're probably right. The when Michael's flipping through the keys, it was probably a callback to the keys. Oh, the keys.
Could be. But I didn't realize, like I said, it's been a while since I've seen this movie. Maybe not quite 10 years, but close to it. I didn't realize how much of that scene, the struggle with the keys, they actually had the original mask, and that's the mask that Miner liked, but somebody else didn't. Somebody else did. I think maybe it was a COD that didn't like it. I can't remember. Of course, Adam Arkin shoots fucking Ladies Love Cool James.
Shooting out LL, buddy.
Shooting LL.
Did you get through all the super chats? Because I saw a couple come through here.
Yeah. Let me see here.
With Geeked Out Turtles fan 39. That's when I just saw it.
Yeah. Flyner says, thank you for the super chat, buddy. He says, where does Tony stand on H18 in both zombie films?
Not a fan of Rob Zombie's second one, but I do like the first one. I enjoy it. It's one I'll watch once a year, somewhere in September maybe or whatever. Not a fan of the second one, and not really a big fan of H18. I've said that many times, but I don't need to rehash that again.
Gotcha. Geeked Out Turtles fan 39 sends a super chat and says, think how much cooler the Laurie Michael scenes would have been if Lionel Richie's Hello.
I see where he's going with that.
Lionel Richie's Hello was playing in the background. Hello, is it me you're looking for? Doc Evil King 03 says, hey Dave, you prefer H2O or Halloween 5 or 6? I think I would watch Halloween 5 over H2O only because of again, I'm not saying it's about, what I'm saying is if I had to pick, I don't know. It would depend on whether I want to watch Loomis or I want to watch
Scream
Laurie.
Soundtrack, by the way. Now we're getting into the Scream soundtrack. I can't believe they reused this soundtrack, and I don't know if that was their intent.
There's that other mask again.
A nod. Yeah, there's the other mask again.
They use it a lot in it. Wow. I would say that I would probably watch again, but it depends on the mood that I'm in, because it depends on the mood that I'm in. I would probably you know what? I would probably watch H2O over Halloween 5. I would probably watch H2O over Halloween 5 because of Laurie and the and her arc. Probably. Yes. I would watch probably H2O over 5. 6, I would watch 6 over H2O. I would watch 6 over H2O. But not because, again, this is not about story, folks. This is not about story. I don't like the story in H6. I don't like the story in the producer's cut. It's the same fucking movie. There's just some more context to things. But I will say that I do like the environment, the fall environment and the feeling of Halloween 6. So I probably will watch that over, I'd watch that over 5. I would probably watch 6 over H2O. But again, I'm not talking about story. I'm just talking about sort of how I feel and what makes me feel when I watch them. If we want to talk about story, well, that's a different question altogether. So yeah, I sort of restructure my answer there. This is where she's done.
I like this Michael and the dramatic Halloween score. I do like that a lot. And I like how she's framed in the shot ultimately as an overhead shot.
Michael! Intel Wild says, Michael's eyes look pretty good for each one being shot in the original H2. I agree. Fucking amazing. That's going to come up here. Yeah,
it's a nice shot. You know, it's a nice, well framed. You got a nice leading line, negative space.
It's a good shot.
Nice silhouette of her, you know, on the ground with the axe, you know, in her hand. It's good.
Yeah, it's a good shot.
By the way, to piggyback off your Lionel Richie hello, you forgot one important part to that. See, Michael should be the one saying the hello to Laurie with Lionel Richie, and Laurie should be responding, Adele.
Is it me you're looking for?
From the other side.
Oh, right. That's right. I didn't like this creative decision. Michael hanging from the bar.
Arm. Didn't that become like a move for him in the next movie too?
Yes, he did it in Resurrection as well. And I was like, since when does he, what the hell? He's hanging up there. And how, and was he like, she didn't see him? Because when you look at the shot, how do you not walk down the hall and see him hanging up there? The ceilings are so, they're not that tall.
I agree with the execution of
cheesy.
how they meet. but I do like the fight between them. Once they get going, I like how it's the execution of getting Michael to her to have the exchange with the axe and everything like that. Once we get to that and they start going after one another, I just would have
liked to have seen more. I'm seeing too much. And when I say seeing too much, I'm not talking about in terms of lighting, although that's a big part of it. It's more of a, I don't feel, it's like, I don't know. It's too polished. I think I want more. The camera is like showing us rather than telling us, or excuse me, telling us rather than showing us. It's like it's. I don't know. It's hard to. Again, it's been so long since I've seen this movie, but the same things that I feel about it are still there. I don't like. I think, at the end of the day, I think it's, and I know I'm going to sound like the old man that says, get off my lawn, but I just don't, I think I think we could have shown less of him and more of him. Oh, that's a different mask right there. He's wearing the, Jesus.
Got the alien mask on again.
Wow. In the same, I didn't realize how much he does back and forth. It would have been interesting to see that thing through the entire movie.
I see what you're saying. I mean, depending on how it's lit, it's not a bad looking mask. You've got to light it right.
You've got 100%.
Really light it right. If you don't,
100%.
It looks like shit.
Yeah.
It's better than fucking spiky hair Mike. I'm not a fan of spiky hair Mike.
Yeah, I don't understand why his hair's so spiky. I wouldn't have done that.
It looks like they just took a blow dryer to it and just.
There's his eyes right there. Oh, I don't like that. I don't like that. He doesn't feel like Michael Myers to me. He feels like somebody dressed as Michael Myers. I hate this. It's how I feel.
And couldn't find a good mask.
Yeah, it just feels like. I always liked this though. Him going right over and right onto the table. I like that. I like him going over and falling onto the table. I like that. And her looking at her, the cut on the arm again, throwback to the original. It's the same arm too.
Yep.
I think this hallway should have been like, it's very tungsten. Like, imagine if the hallway was more dimly lit, like it was darker.
In the original?
Yeah, it was darker. Like, there's a lot of warm tungsten orange in that fight scene, and I just
again, like, that was the time. They were shooting this in the style of the time. And,
that's what I mean. Yeah. Like even this here, have it darker in the room as she comes in. Yeah. It's crazy stuff. I don't know. It's crazy stuff, folks. Frank Riker sends a super chat. Thank you, Frank. Says, DT, I think they should have included bandage and 6-year-old clown Michael masks while we're at it. Yeah.
You know what she should have done as she was raising the knife up and looking down? I got you all alone.
That'd be funny. That'd be funny. H2O, Thad Armstrong sends a super chat. Says, H2O was cropped to 2351, not true anamorphic. That's true.
Yes.
Now remember, this is where Michael right now, Halloween Resurrection, tells us right now Michael is somewhere. Now that guy right there, that's not Michael Myers. That's the paramedic. That's the paramedic going into the bag. They didn't bother to take off his head or his mask to identify him. They didn't to check. No,
and when the guy sits up in the the thing, he could have just taken the mask off and be like, hey, it's not me.
he was so crazily delirious. He just didn't know what was going on. Yeah. I don't believe it. I don't buy into
Resurrection
it.
is the worst story explanation of any movie I've ever seen. It's so like unbelievable. It's
yeah. I don't believe it. I don't believe what you're selling.
Though. Like this moment here that's happening, the payoff that we get at the end.
Yes,
here,
of course.
I don't mind it.
If you had ended the entire series with this movie right here, yeah, would have been great. Again, I mean, I'm not as I said, I'm not a big fan of the movie for various reasons. I appreciate Laurie's arc. I think Jamie Lee Curtis is bringing it. I don't think she's phoning it in. She's bringing it. I don't like the setting. I don't like some of the lighting. I don't like the shape. I don't like the portrayal of the shape. I like his size, but I don't. There's a lot of things about the shape that I just don't like. He feels like he's in cosplay to me, and I don't like. Well, a lot of the things I've been talking about here, and there's some things that I got to think more about because it's my first time seeing this in a bit. But I feel the same way about it. It's a fine, fun, little horror movie that you could show your fucking 13-year-old. I mean, it's a great, and I'm not trying to be patronizing. I'm just saying that it's got that 90s fun kind of vibe. And for a lot of people, this was the introduction to the character, and I get it. And I respect that. I do. I respect that. But I it's just, now watch this sit up. Watch this. This is what, look.
And you know why he kept his legs apart? Because he couldn't do the traditional. It's very hard to sit up with your legs closer to you. You've got to have good core, and to do it fluidly like Nick Castle did it.
Yeah,
that's why he kept his legs apart, because that was the only way he could do it in a fluid motion.
I can tell you right now, I can do it with my legs together. And I think that it is something, it's one of his calling cards. It's one of his things that he does. The van is going down the hill here. Here comes the van smashing him against the tree.
This really would have crushed him in real life.
Oh, for sure. But just seeing him get up, and I know there's been so many, well, he's delirious. Oh, he can't think. He just got through. I mean, David, but the way, then don't have him do it. He sits up like he's
this whole sequence is supposed to be a paramedic. Fucking kidding me?
No, I know. But the way he sits up and looks over, it's like he's had 12 beers and he's 9 sheets to the wind. I mean, I don't. It's true. Just so, it's not Michael. That's not Michael Myers. That's not the way he would sit up. That's not it. And we're seeing it, like, just have him. Anyway, I didn't like it when I watched the movie in 1998. I don't like it now, and people can say that I'm nitpicking, but that's a thing that how he sits up and, I mean, that would have been amazing to see that executed properly in the headlights of that van. Maybe have it a bit darker, and you just see him kind of sit up in the road and turn that head, and she's like, what the, and just, would have been great. Bum, ba-bum, bum, ba-bum. And he stands up and he starts walking towards the van, and she's, you know what I mean? Like something like that would have been awesome.
You just gave me an idea for a photo that I'm going to recreate now.
There you go. My invoice is in the mail.
Using the headlights as my light source, and Michael sitting up.
Now remember, this is a paramedic. He's not going to take off the mask.
He's still got the mask on. No,
he's still got the mask on.
He's just going to leave it on.
Instead of taking off the mask, he's reaching out. He's reaching out to Laurie Strode. He's reaching out. He's like, hey, I'm a paramedic, bitch. Come on.
But I'm not going to take the mask off to show you that I'm not the guy that came after you.
That's right. No, come on.
I know there's people out there that like Resurrection, but come on, guys. Like, for real, from a storytelling point of view.
Come on.
You're trying to tell me this whole sequence is a fucking EMT who's not taking off the mask to show who his identity is. You know what I mean? Right. Like, come on.
No.
Fuck.
It's Michael Myers. In this moment, if the original,
Michael for me.
Of course it is.
Is it.
And seeing his eyes, though, I hate that. I hate it.
I agree. They should have just done like
what? And he's blinking.
Right here.
Oh my God! And he's blinking. He's blinking. We're seeing him blink. Oh.
I think this is the only time the original score has ever been brought. No, Rob Zombie brought it back in briefly.
Rob Zombie did.
Yeah. But as far as within not Rob Zombie's storyline,
right.
This is the only time the original score comes back.
Yep. And she chops off his head.
It was perfect ending.
Well, you know what? I'm telling you, yeah, if that was actually the end of the story as we know it, you know, I would at least respect, you know, I would still say, hey, listen, look, is Halloween H20 the worst movie I've ever seen in my life? Of course not. Is it the worst Halloween movie? No, of course not. But there's there's things in this movie that just irk me. And I'm just like, no, I'm just not feeling it. I'm not feeling it. But there's things I do appreciate. You know, there's some things I do appreciate. And there's probably a number of other things that I could also say and touch on that I didn't like. But of course, again, it's, you know, I'm talking about it in the moment. I would have to think about it and then maybe do a separate video on it. But certainly some of the things I'm not a fan of the cinematography. I'm not a fan of the portrayal of Michael. Yeah, and get Creed out of there. Get fucking Creed out of there, okay? Get them fucking out of there. Get them out of there. And so yeah, not a fan of the cinematography, not a fan of the portrayal of the shape, not a fan of the mask at the end of the day, not a fan of sort of the setting and the location. I think I would never have said it in sunny California. Now I know what you're thinking. But Dave, the first one was set in sunny California. That's right. It was. And there's no doubt that most of the day shots in the original Halloween don't look like fall. I mean, I've never once said that the original Halloween has this wonderful autumn environment. No, it doesn't. It doesn't at all.
No, it's got palm trees.
It's got palm trees in the background if you know what to look for. However, the one thing that does help, I think, the original Halloween is they were smart enough to look for an area in Los Angeles, in greater Los Angeles, that emulated the feel and sort of look of a Midwestern town. So they decided to shoot in Pasadena.
I think you have the three key factors, which is Carpenter's directing, Cundy's cinematography, and Tommy Lee Wallace's set design to what they presented in the original film.
Right.
When you add all that together, it pays off when we as the viewers are watching it. Whereas here, I agree with what you're saying. I still enjoy H20 and like it. It's, you know, it's in my top 5 Halloween films.
Yeah.
It's a 5. It's not like it's not 3 or 2.
Gotcha.
But I get what you're saying. Cause yes, when you do look at the cinematography here and some of the things you're pointing out, there's mistakes. There's mistakes that it shows that, like you said, the film could have been so much better, like really much better, if they had just
way better
paced themselves, taken their time and paced themselves.
Yeah, it doesn't. Yeah, no, I agree. It's those things that, you know, jumping back to the original for a moment, it's that, it doesn't look like autumn. I mean, it does in the sense of, you know, they have the fake leaves on the ground and they have a bit of wind and it looks very autumn. You definitely get a fall sort of vibe in the original Halloween when it goes to night, but that's primarily because everything is dark. You can't see how green everything is. You can't see some of the little palm trees that pop up in the background. And so it could be any, and of course they have the wind machines and the wind, you know, blowing. So certainly I believe that it's autumn but the location, the street, which is just down from where I stay when I'm in Hollywood, which is Orange Grove.
What you said earlier tonight, they should have done like Indiana or something like that, somewhere in the Midwest.
Oh, for sure. But to set the original Halloween, you know, to shoot it in Pasadena, to have that smaller town vibe, to shoot it on the streets they did. There are streets that look like that here in Ontario. There are streets that look like that in the Midwest. It has that flavor to it, that small town kind of vibe, which helps. And then, of course, you have some of the leaves on the ground. You're like, okay, but no one, I don't know who is, if anybody is, but I'm certainly not professing that it's got great autumn fall environment. You cut to nighttime, of course, it kind of feels like that. But certainly in this movie, in H20, the beginning of H20, you can feel it, right? And I think that's where they just should have had the movie. I think they should have just shot the movie, set the movie in that town, in wherever that was. Was that in California? I don't know. Was that somewhere where they made it look like fall? I have no idea. Maybe it was somewhere else. But wherever that was, I think that would have done them. Because, folks, I mean, look, as you know, it may sound I keep looking up there. You guys are down here. I forgot I haven't switched over. Let me switch over. I'm meaning to do that. Hey, what's going on, fuckers? I will say this, that the I cannot emphasize enough how important, and it may not seem like it, and it may seem like I'm nitpicking, and I get it. I understand why someone might think I am, but how important and integral that fall is. And like I said, the original didn't have much of it throughout the day, but when you cut to nighttime with the wind blowing and him, crossing the street, and you can see the leaves, it definitely was there. And I just think setting this film in a California town was a big part of and I'm just not crazy on, I just don't like Chris Duran's portrayal of the Shape either. I don't think it's a very strong portrayal of the Shape. I don't think it's the worst, but I don't think it's,
sorry, Chris.
Well, it might be, you know what? It might be. Yeah, I didn't like Don Shanks either. I liked Wilbur's portrayal in 4, minus the shoulder pads.
Shoulder pads.
I liked I liked his vibe a little bit, but again, what makes Halloween work is not one thing. It's and Tony, you'd agree. I mean, it's a number of like 5 or 6 ingredients that you need in a Halloween movie to really be firing on all, cylinders to really make it work. And this movie was, it's a teeny bopper sort of. I don't know. I didn't like it. I didn't like H2O. I didn't. I don't hate it. I don't hate it. But
and you want to know what those 5 ingredients are, folks? John Carpenter, Deborah Hill, Tommy Lee Wallace, Dean Cundy, and a good fun cast.
Well, I would say yes. I would say I agree with you. But to take it one step further, there's nothing proprietary about what Carpenter and Cundy, I guess I'm trying to say is that there's nothing that is. Yes, that is very important, but you can I mean, it's not like they're the only people on the face of the planet that can do that. You take that ingredients, and you implement it into.
That's what I meant. That's your ingredients.
Like, I mean, it's not.
That's your ingredients. Take that and make it yours.
I mean, there were people that were like, they need to get Dean Cundy for, the next Halloween movie. No, they don't. They don't need to get Dean Cundy. Dean Cundy didn't invent low-key lighting with a pale blue moonlight shining down on somebody's face. He didn't invent that. No, it's a Dean Cundy understood how to light a scene that was going to complement the character of the Shape. It's all about understanding what you're working with. It's about understanding how to utilize light and shadow and utilize, your tools at your disposal, whether that's through direction or cinematography, whatever it is, to be able to execute, who Michael Myers is as a character. It's not like Dean Cundy's the only guy that can do that. There are DPs that have been doing it before that have done it since. So it's
like
just understanding
photos.
that.
My photos, I take a Dean Cundy approach, but it's my photos. People have said that to me all the time in the comments when I post a Michael picture, like, dude, you've captured the Cundy feel, but it's your photos, and that's what you're conveying here. Yeah. That's what they could have done in these movies. You don't need Dean Cundy to deliver you the goods. You can just use the ingredients, like, okay, this is what people are familiar with. Take that, but make it your own, but don't stray too far away from it.
Right,
because that's what makes the character identifiable.
Movie Chat and More has a good question. He says, don't you ever think it was a fluke, Dave? I'm not saying that, by the way. That's actually a great question, because what it is the original film. I think there are a lot of people, and rightly so, I understand this, that will kind of say, God, there's so much, it's not a big deal. I don't see it as anything special at all. Right. But in 1978, okay, seeing something like Halloween was different, was new, you hadn't seen anything like that before in terms, or I shouldn't say like that before, you kind of saw it in Black Christmas, but seeing, movies that were like that, right? About a stalker stalking teenagers in a mask set on Halloween. I mean, there was never a movie in motion picture history prior to that named Halloween. And I don't even think there was a movie called Halloween set on Halloween. I don't know why you'd call one Halloween, not set on Halloween. But I remember when I was talking to Mickey Yablons, he was telling me about his dad, and he was saying that it didn't, there was no, to their surprise, to his surprise, there was no, it's like, holy Jesus, we'll set on, Halloween and we'll call it this. And it was just, it was something that was like a fluke. I don't think it was a fluke. I think it was a product of its time, in the sense of that it was sort of in an era where more and more gratuitous violence was making its way into the horror mainstream, and you deliver movies like Black Christmas and Halloween and movies like that. They're old school sort of tricks. It's an old school kind of, psychological Hitchcock type of thing. You don't see a lot. It's all sort of light and shadow and darkness and that kind of thing. And it was scary. I mean, for a time, it was still in that era, it was very scary. I think, it's the, and we also cannot, emphasize enough how important the music is to that original Halloween film. The music is so important to that original Halloween film. And you could make an argument that it is the most important thing in that Halloween film. It was a brilliant piece. And I'm not talking about just the Halloween theme, but all, the themes are terrific, and it helped to elevate that movie to a new level. And so, I think it's sort of one of the last kind of old school sort of kind of horror movies before things really took off into the blood, guts, and gore era of the slasher genre in the early to mid 80s, it's a lost art, but I think Cundy is incredibly talented. I think Carpenter is talented. And I think, like Tony says, I mean, you put those people together. I think they made a good film. I think it was a good film for what it was. And, I don't think it was a fluke, but I definitely think it was something that,
look, the reality is when these guys made this film back in 1978, they never thought that there would be two guys sitting here one day talking about it 40 fucking years later, and that there would be this fan base. They did not foresee that this is what was going to come out of it.
And something, you're absolutely right, Tony, and something to say as well, which I think is really important, is had there not been more gratuitous violence and blood, guts, and gore, and the slasher genre, have taken, and listen, I'm not saying there isn't a place for all that, but I think because we get very little of the old school, or what we like to call old school type of horror and scares, and I understand it, we've largely moved past that, and kids today don't really find that stuff scary. I get it, but it makes it stand out even more. And I think that's why you look at what the original Halloween was, and you look at what Halloween became. And I think one of the reasons why we point to the original as being so special is because it is very different. It's a very different type of horror movie than what the series became. And you can't say that a lot about the other horror franchises. Friday the 13th has largely been a blood, guts, and gore. Now there's been more blood, guts, and gore as you go along, but and I'm not saying there aren't some fun, films in there, but it's always been at its core a slasher blood, guts, and gore series, right? Same with Elm Street. Elm Street has always largely been a blood, guts, and gore slasher sort of series. But there's one thing that we sort of point to in the original film that has changed, and that is, of course, the portrayal of Freddy, right? You go from serious dark Freddy to funny, Freddy. And then people tend to prefer the older kind of, so that's something that sort of changed in there as well. And it's the same with Halloween. Halloween was that Hitchcock, old black and white kind of horror movie kind of thing. And then it's night and day when you get to 5 and 6, and you look back on it and you sort of, there's kind of a, you know what I mean? There's this sort of appreciation for more of the nuanced approach, which I think is always far scarier.
Yeah, I've said that about Friday the 13th. Friday the 13th, the first two, those are the two creepiest in the franchise. It's just a very creepy movie, pissed off mom, and then a creepy fucking dude wearing a fucking sack. After 2, that's when it became a slasher, and it was just all about body count. How gross can we make it? And it's fun. It is what it is.
Right.
Nightmare, totally agree with you. It went from the first 2, I think I would say 2 is still semi-dark. You know, it's not, he wasn't really hitting, but he wasn't hitting the one-liners until 3. You know, 3, it started with,
right. Oh yeah.
You know, well, welcome to prime time, bitch.
But it was a balance. It was a balance. It was a balance. And then you get to 4 and he's you know, crossed over. It's right.
You know, so Michael, it was, you know, like you were saying there. Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah. There's just it's just a thing where it's like, you know, I mean, it's got there's a very specific identity to the original film. It's very different from any other Halloween movie in terms of its execution. Like, I think we can all agree that when you watch the original film, it's very different than watching any other Halloween movie, even two. You know, it's very clear that this is a very specific type of horror movie. And then you make sequels to it, and they do kind of, like, yeah, they're married to each other, but it's almost like the sequels are distant cousins of the original film, you know, and they don't feel connected per se in terms of what the character really was and what Halloween was. So there's always this weird dichotomy. It's just strange.
Yeah, and the one personality trait, we've talked about this before, that I never understood why you went away from this was Michael and how he stalks people and seeing him there, you know, in the backyard, and then he's gone, you know, or, you know, seeing him behind the station wagon, or, you know, whatever, or seeing him there when Nancy Loomis is on the phone and, you know, he's there and then she cuts and then he's gone. You know what I mean?
Right.
The laundry room scene, like they went so far.
Oh, yeah.
They turned Michael into Jason as the series progressed. And I think that was a big mistake. They really should have kept that personality trait, because I thought that was such a very key part to who Michael was. Michael wasn't about just, I'm going to fucking go kill this bitch, you know, like Jason would, or Freddy.
Right.
Michael was going to make you think, like, is this going to happen now? No, not quite, you know?
Bang on, Tony. You're bang on. And I get this question a lot, and I've often sort of, you know, we've talked about this, and, you know, you can speculate about this forever, and obviously we can't go back and change it, but had Halloween ended with Halloween 2 in 1981, and had the anthology film been successful, I think, you know,
we would Michael, be in a totally different thing now.
A totally different era, and I actually think that there's a chance that you could have revisited Michael again with Jamie Lee Curtis, even though I know they've done it, but I have a funny feeling that revisit to the story, like, say you have your H20 or you have your H18, but it's not under the pressure of or under the story of eliminating any of the sequels. It's not under, there are no sequels to eliminate. There are no, you know, it just happens that 40 years later they decide. I would be very curious to see what the approach would be then, because I don't necessarily think we would have gotten the H18 that we got. I think there would have been a very different mindset. I almost think there would have been more of a, if only H1 and H2 existed, and let's say there was several Halloween anthology films, and somewhere along the lines they decide 40 years we want to go back and bring Michael Myers back, and there hasn't been a Michael Myers film in, you know, since 1981. I think the approach and the mindset and the mind frame would have been very different. And I think I'd be very curious to see what kind of a movie we would have gotten then, you know, and what story it would have been then. Because there's always this pressure of, you know, pleasing fans, and, you know, we have to please fans of 4, 5, and 6. We have to please fans of H2O. We have to please fans of Resurrection. We have to please fans of 1 and 2. We have to please fans of Halloween 3. We got to throw Halloween 3 Season of the Witch Masks in there. But if there were no fans to please of 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8, or now we got to be playing, and we have to please fans of Rob Zombie's films. I mean, if there were not like 10 fucking movies that they all had to think about and try to rearrange, if it was just 1 and 2, I sometimes wonder, you know, because who's to say they wouldn't go back? Who's to say they wouldn't go back and, hey, it's 40 years now, let's go back. They may have still gone back to Michael Myers, even though he's dead and he should remain. Maybe it might have been really interesting to see what kind of an H18 we would have gotten if there had now I know they're pretending there's never been a sequel, but approaching the development and pre-production phases of a film, pretending films don't exist, and films actually not existing are two very different mind frames, because you don't have the sort of subconscious kind of biases that you have approaching, the films that you do now, because it's always in the back of your head. Oh, but what about this? What about those fans? What about this? What about this? What about that? What about this? Oh, he did that. He did this. But that wouldn't exist. I'd be very curious to see what kind of a movie that would have been.
Agreed.
Hey, let's get some chats. Yeah, let's get some super chats here. Let's see here. Super chats, looking at what we got. Okay. CM sends in a super chat. Thank you, CM. Says, how about a two dudes and some bullshit at Christmas time on Die Hard? Oh, we're going to do Die Hard.
Yeah, we'll do Die Hard.
We'll do Die Hard. Rad7 sends in a super chat and says, The Undertaker didn't imitate that BS sit-up. The Undertaker, no, I've never looked at The Undertaker doing his sit-up and thinking it was Michael Myers. No, I don't think so. I agree.
I think that was just a part of his character.
Yeah, it's part of his character.
WWF.
Yeah. F-E, whatever. Toronto Freddy sends a super chat, says, D&T 78's definitive sequel, 81. Dave and Tony, 78 definitive sequel, 81 or H18? It's 81.
81.
Yeah. Yeah, so you think that too, Tony?
Yeah, 81.
Yeah, 81.
I mean, look, Kills and Ends could be great Halloween films.
Could be.
But it's not going to change how I feel about the 2018 film. You know what I mean?
No, but you're right. Yeah, it'll be very interesting to see how people feel about this story once Kills and Ends is out.
Yeah, it's so hard to answer that right now because I will have to keep that in mind that answering the question like that with the 2018 Halloween, even though I don't like it, Kills and Ends could be off the fucking chain, and I can't not acknowledge it. You know what I mean?
I hear you, man. I hear you. I could not agree more. Let's see here. Another super chat comes in from Patrick Hartnett. Says, I blame JLC for H2O in the current trilogy. Her return over and over is beating a dead horse. This isn't the Laurie Strode story. Well, I agree, but yeah, it is sort of the Laurie Strode story, and that's sort of that's the dichotomy, right? Is that
again, even though Danielle Harris became the star after H4, her character is the daughter of Laurie Strode. You can't forget the anchor to that. You know what I mean?
Well, and I think it's important that yes, Laurie Strode is not Michael's sister. Not Michael's sister in H18, but you needed to, if you were going to do the H18 film, you needed to bring her back to anchor it. You needed to bring her back to anchor the series, but you don't need her to survive Kills. You don't need her to. However, having said that,
it'd be a gutsy move if they killed her off in Kills.
But I will say this, and I do believe this. Because Halloween H18 Kills and Ends are supposedly happening all in one night, I think
that idea a lot, by the way.
I do too. Well, it makes sense. Well, we knew that Kills is probably going to pick up immediately where 18 left off. I mean, that makes the most sense. Yeah. But whether Ends was going to be 2 years later, a year later, we weren't sure. But according to Nick Castle, yes, it does. It all takes place in one night. Then if that is the case and you're not jumping ahead, then I believe it starts and ends with Laurie Strode. I think it's poetic that way. It goes back to the original film and, the conversation about fate and destiny and, not that they were talking about destiny, but in terms of, your fate being, your destiny, your the path that you're on. Obviously in that movie, it was just talking about the end of that movie, but you can take that and expand it into the series. I think it needs to end with Michael and Laurie somehow. And because it's happened, because all three films take place in one night. So yeah, you might as well just keep her around and have her, but I would not be against her dying with Michael Myers. I think that would be very poetic and sort of a nice way to kind of send it off.
I wouldn't mind seeing her going out in Ends. Who I would love to see go out in Kills is Judy Greer's character. That's who I would. I think that if they pulled the trigger on that, that could be such an emotional, powerful scene with Annie Matichak and Jamie Lee Curtis, you know, seeing, you know, her daughter, her mother being killed by Michael. I can almost envision that. And you can even have that as like the ending of Kills leading into Halloween Ends.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, you could. You could. And it's funny. Jason Blum said that Halloween Kills will not end on a cliffhanger. Now, there's many different types of cliffhangers, right? There's like a literal, well, there's a literal one like The Force Awakens where, hey, it ended really on a cliff. They're on a cliff. It's hanging. But I found it funny that he said,
really, you know, on a cliff.
Yeah, they were. Hey, we're on a cliff. Really we're on a cliff, Luke. We're on a cliff, baby.
Literally.
Literally, it ends on a cliffhanger. I was
thinking like, yeah, they really did.
They really did on a cliffhanger. The only thing that would have made it even more of a cliffhanger if Luke was hanging off the cliff, hanging, and then it ended right there. But I will say this. I'll say that, yeah, Blum said something like Halloween... it
won't feel like a cliffhanger, right?
Right, like it has a complete ending in and of itself. Even now, I find that strange because if you are doing another, who cares if it ends on a cliffhanger? It's the second act of a 3-act play. I mean, essentially, I know it's a quadrilogy and technically these are, they're 4 films here, but really at the end of the day, for all intents and purposes, this is a 3-act play. Well, have it end on a cliffhanger. And because I'm going to be able to see how it ends next year anyway. So I don't understand what the big deal is. I mean, the only way you wouldn't end something on a cliffhanger is if there wasn't another movie to complete it. How many times is it fucking annoying when they end series on cliffhanger? You're like, what are you doing that for? I'm supposed to wrap up here, right? You know what I mean? So I don't understand the resistance to that. I could be, missing the nuance here. I think really what he means is that, it's not going to be some sort of big question, but I don't know. I kind of feel like, well, who cares if there is? Who cares if the moment, I don't know, Judy Greer her character dies and it's like, oh my God, and Michael is standing there, and maybe there's something on fire in the background or whatever, and he's looking and they're like, nah, and just kind of ends there or something. It's like, no, and the credits are rolling. It's like, oh shit, I can't wait to see. There is nothing worse than knowing, like, take The Last Jedi, right? The Last Jedi ends not on a cliffhanger. It ends with Broom Boy staring up optimistically into the stars. And I didn't give up. Well, I hated the movie. So, to be fair, but when that movie ended, I didn't give a shit about seeing another Star Wars. I didn't care. There was nothing that happened that enticed me to want to see the next movie. Thankfully, I quite enjoyed The Rise of Skywalker for the reasons that I said. But that being said, so I'm kind of like, I'm okay with it ending on, like, it's got to end with some sort of like, like, do you agree, Tony? Like, do you think that, or do you not really care about that? Like, I don't think Blum means that it's going to wrap up and end, like, feel like a complete story in and of itself. And if he does mean that, I don't know. It's kind of strange.
He could also be doing misdirect. That's why I didn't read too much into it, because nowadays, unfortunately, back in the day when we were younger, we weren't trying to, look for, spoilers before seeing the movie. We just waited till the fucking movie came out and saw the fucking movie. That was it.
That's right.
Now, today's generation, they're looking for everything. They basically, they want to see the movie before the movie's even fucking made, which I've never understood that, but whatever, it is what it is. So yeah, I think it could be a little misdirect. I mean, whether it's in a cliffhanger in the sense of the traditional cliffhanger that we all know in storytelling, maybe it's not, but I don't think it really fucking matters because we know that there's 2 more films coming.
Right, but you see, like, does he mean that Halloween Kills will end similar to H18? Because I think that's probably what he means. Possible. Because H18 could have ended right where it did and never made another movie, and it would feel like it's an abrupt ending. I always felt that. Even when I saw it at the premiere, I was like, it feels like it needed another 5 minutes, but certainly it doesn't end on a cliffhanger, I would say. So I think what he means is that Halloween Kills will end similar to H18 in the sense that, like, it'll feel kind of like that. Like, there could be more, but we could leave it here if we wanted to. I don't know. I mean, if you are set to make 2 extra movies, I don't know, man. Cliffhanger it up, in my opinion. Hey, let's. We got some.
You
super
got
chats
a lot
here.
of super chats.
I do.
Dude.
Let's get through them. The Film Addict says, "Thank you for the super chat, buddy." He says, "Do you guys have a favorite memory of senior year in high school? Unfortunately, my senior year got cut short because of the period we are all in." Oh, so you're in senior right now, senior high school right now.
Man,
but my principal still is promising us
you.
a graduation. Well, that's nice. Tony, what about you? You ever had a favorite senior year in high school?
Well, I only had one.
That's right. Yeah, right.
Favorite moment my senior year?
Yes, your favorite memory from senior year. That's what I meant.
It was going to see this H2O. This came out.
There you go.
In was it June? It came out. It came out May or June.
July, I think.
You
It
sure?
was July. Yeah, let me check this out.
Because I know I was in school when I saw it. We hadn't quite graduated.
No, it came out August 5th, 98.
Okay,
So you must have seen it when you went back
in the
to
summertime. Well, no, because I graduated in '98.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. So no, it was.
So
that's right.
summer of graduation, and I saw it with.
Right.
Okay, so during senior year, favorite moment probably was Cancun was fun, but I had a lot more fun when we went to DC. We went to 2 senior trips. We went to Cancun, and then we went to DC, and I had a lot more fun in DC than I did in Cancun. I didn't have a good time in Cancun. One, I got sick when we were down there, so that kind of put a damper to the trip. But I had a blast. I don't know. The whole year it was fun. I mean, it was just fun time, and I can't pinpoint one specific moment.
It's the same with me.
There's so many. Because I have a feeling if some friends of mine hey, dude, you didn't mention this in the show.
Yeah.
It's like there's so many great moments and memories with friends that I had that it's hard to narrow down to just one. What about you?
It's the same with me. I don't really know. I really enjoyed being with my buddies. You know what I mean? And having a great time. But I can't think of any particular specific memory, at least certainly none that I want to share, that would be my favorite. So let's just say that. Let's roll on here. Let's get these super chats. Kevin Bacon's boner, hell of a boner, Kevin. I really hope that in Kills or Ends we find out Lori's ex-husband was Ben Tramer and he's played by Kevin flippin' Bacon. That would be funny.
Ooh, there you go.
That would be funny. Kevin Bacon is Ben Tramer. I might be okay with that. That might be kind of funny. A little on the nose, but kind of funny. Yeah. Southpaw82 sends a super chat. Thank you, buddy. Says, Warlock, in my opinion, was the worst. Sorry, but his slow lava-like movements just don't do
Dick
it for
Warlock.
me.
I was like,
Dick Warlock.
Warlock?
No, Nick's quick, swift gliding was just the best. Certainly, there's Dick Warlock is his portrayal of the shape is divided, I would say.
I will say this. The Dick has a few moments in Halloween too. He does. But yeah, I for me it's Castle, Wilbur, James Jude, then Tricky Dicky.
For me, it would be at the moment, because I need to see. For me, it's Castle, it's Warlock, but not everything Warlock does. Yeah. But there's moments in there that I do like what he does. I mean.
There are good moments that he's really good.
So for me, it's Nick and Dick. It's Nick and Dick. It's Nick and Dick, and then James. But James is more Nick Castle-like. So James is sort of like it's like a revolving door for me with second and third.
Right.
And then Wilbur, but Wilbur from 4, not from 6.
Agree. Yeah, the rest I don't. Whatever.
No. Intel Wild says Dave Tony is pimping it. That is pimping it in that hat of his. Tony is pimping it in that hat of his. Are you gonna have to step? You're gonna have to step up your game up, buddy. My hat game. You're right. I'm gonna have to do that. I don't
know if I can picture you in a cowboy hat though.
I got a fedora over there. I got an Indiana Jones fedora. I'll put an Indiana.
Oh wait,
Jones
yeah,
fedora.
I've seen you rock the fedora. That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, I wore a small little one to Warner Brothers. Yeah, to the Voice Arts Awards. P.S. My last name is spelled wrong on the Patreon page. Is it? Oh, well, thank you for letting me know. I will go and fix that. Send me a note, Intel Wild. Send a message to me via Patreon and let me know, and we'll have it fixed for you. Sorry about that. Anna M. Pops. Hello, Anna M. Pops. Welcome. Hey, I have not seen Anna M. Pops here before. I think Anna is new, but thank you for the super chat. Really appreciate it. Anna says, do you guys think that the mysterious character that will return in H Kills could be Annie's boyfriend, Paul? Very interesting question. Oh, Paul, I give you all.
No keys.
No keys. And she goes down, right? So she's like,
she does go down.
She's like, my Paul, I give you all. And then she goes, clink, clink, clink. But no keys, but please, my Paul.
I can't.
Great question, Anna. Excuse me. I think I said Annie. Anna M. Pops. If I said Annie, my apologies. Anna, great question. I will say, do I think Halloween Kills Annie's boyfriend Paul will return? I'm going to say no. And the reason I'm going to say no is because I don't think there's any, like, really the only Brackett is the link to Annie, and I don't think Annie is going to play a significant role in this movie other than maybe Brackett. I think she'll be mentioned in H Kills. I do. And I think Brackett will mention her through some sort of exposition, how hard it's been, I want to get that fucker, or, whatever it is, right? But I don't think there's going to be any sort of connection beyond that. So it would seem sort of strange to have a character that we've never seen at all, that we've never been introduced to, that was just sort of a voice on the phone, suddenly make an appearance. Why would he be there? I mean, Annie's been dead for 40 years. Obviously, he's no longer with her. He's probably moved on, married with kids.
And the character was also very insignificant.
Very insignificant. That's right.
The song that we just did. I mean, he's really, like you said, he's a phone character. Whereas if they brought back like Linda's brother, that would make sense because she was one of the core three of the three girls. Like if you brought back someone who was connected to Linda, I could buy that more than someone coming back who's connected to Paul. I
see what you're saying. Yeah, I see what you're saying.
Not that it's going to happen, but like it would make more sense to bring someone who's connected to Linda versus to Paul.
I see what you're saying. But I think you'd agree, and I don't want to speak for you, of course, but I think you'd agree that the likelihood that of any of the characters or anybody connected to the characters beyond what we see in the movie are going to make a return. Like I don't think Linda
Cypress. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, that him. I mean, you might get a Ben Tramer in there. You might, but that's more significant.
Lonnie, right? Isn't Lonnie supposed to be coming into this?
Lonnie is. Yeah. Oh, yeah. But I mean, I guess I'm talking about Annie, Linda, and Bob. I think Annie and Linda and Bob will be referenced. I think I would still love to see a gravestone of one of them or all of them or whatever.
Exactly.
Something like that. But beyond that, I don't think so. Yeah. Good question, though, Anna. Thank you for the super chat. Really appreciate you chiming in. And you can chime in whenever you want. Let me see. Oh, geez.
You got a lot, man. You got a lot of super chats.
I did. I'm missing them. Let me go down here.
We're going to get them, guys. Don't worry.
We're going to get them. We're getting them. One sec. We are getting to them. Anna M. Pops, there it is. Tommy Ricknall sends a super chat. Thank you, Tommy. Says, just saying it, H2O was great on Laserdisc back in the 90s. Had a great sound through the system. Everybody's loved it, maybe for that reason. I think people like it. I think the reason why people love H2O is that I think there are people that I think it's a great movie. And there's nothing wrong with that. I think people have a nostalgic connection to it because it was either the first Halloween movie they ever saw, and that's the movie they were introduced to. Michael
movie they ever saw.
That could be it too. Or it was the first Halloween movie they saw in the theater. But a lot of people have reached out to me and said, Dave, I hear what you're saying. I know you're not a big fan of H2O for this, that, and the other, and that's fair. But for me, it was the first Halloween movie I saw, and it introduced me to Michael Myers. And because
I get it when someone says that, because I say the same thing about Halloween 4. That's why I love Halloween 4. It was the first one I saw in the franchise. This introduced me to the whole fucking universe of Halloween, and that's why I love that film so much.
That's right.
So I get when an H2O fan says it. I get that.
Yeah, 100%, man. Absolutely. I totally understand that. And there is, because again, Michael was really, it's not that he made it he made a bit of a comeback in 88, but then 89 was terrible. And then there was no Michael Myers until 95. Okay. So think about that. Think about this for a moment. Okay. You have Halloween, and then you have Halloween 2 in 81. Okay. You had no Michael Myers in 82, 83, 84, 85, 86, 87. Nothing. Freddy and Jason were tearing it up. They are the horror icons of the 1980s. That's why, as I've said 1,000 times, when you tried to dress up as Michael, people thought you were Jason, because they were the titans of the horror 1980s, because Michael was non-existent. His story was done. Then in 88, by 1988, the slasher subgenre was the curve was heading down. It wasn't completely gone, but the golden age of slashers is really from like 78, 79 to about, I'd say 85, 86.
86 is pushing it, yeah.
So then when you get to 88, that's when things are beginning to kind of, you're on the down curve. Halloween 4 was actually pretty successful. I mean, it did all right. It did all right, right? Michael's back. It did, oh my God, you mean that Halloween guy? Oh shit, he's back. But then they rushed Halloween 5 into production, and by 89,
so and shit on 4.
Right, and remember, it's not like you're on you're on an up curve, right? So you release a shitty slasher movie when the slasher subgenre is already heading down, so nobody fucking cares. It's not like you're saying, hey, we know the slasher subgenre is on a down curve, but check out this great movie. That's not what happened. Halloween 5 comes around, and it's like, yeah, that's just confirmation of why we don't give a fuck about slashers anymore. Look at this piece of shit that's released. And then there wasn't a Michael Myers movie for another 6 years. Another 6 years. So you had 2 Michael Myers movies in 14 years. You had 2 Michael Myers movies or 3 Michael Myers movies in 14 years, right? So there just wasn't the demand for Michael. And Halloween 6, the Curse of Michael Myers, was largely a flop. It didn't rejuvenate anything. It kind of just was trying to get it. Okay,
let's off people.
Yeah. So for a lot, and then Wes Craven, rest his soul, revitalized the slasher subgenre in a way we hadn't seen before. And all of a sudden, horror was alive again. Horror had a heartbeat, but in a different way. It was an evolution. It was like, oh my God, what the fuck is this? Scream, holy snap and crap, holy Jesus. And then I know what you did last summer. And then, I still know what you did last summer, and Scream 2. And it was like, what's going on? Horror was cool again. And then along comes Halloween H20, and kids who were born in 1988 and 89 or 87 or whatever it is, they're introduced to this. They're like, what the hell is this? Well, son, this is actually Halloween. Let me introduce you to this. And there you go. You know what I mean?
Could you imagine if, same story, same premise, probably would be with different actors and actresses. Yeah. But could you imagine if Halloween 4 came out in the middle, in like 85, 86, right in the middle of Nightmare 3 and Jason Lives? During that like peak of like the 80s, that might have changed the whole franchise of Halloween.
Yeah,
if it came out within that time, in the middle of all that run.
Yeah, and that's a great point, Tony. I mean, if Halloween 4 had come out in like or let's even say 85.
Right, that's what I mean, right in between like Nightmare 3 and Friday 6, in the middle of all that. That change, that literally would change the whole outlook of the series.
It might. You're absolutely right. It might. And then 5, of course, if 5 is still the same movie, I mean, Jesus.
No, I think they would have made a better movie.
Yeah, but it's hope. But it is something to think about, right? Because, you have 2 in 81. They end the story. They really did kill Myers. He was dead because the goal was to go to the anthology. They go to the anthology. It's not successful for obvious reasons. And then they decide to abandon Halloween altogether. And in that time, Michael's sleeping and Freddy and Jason are like, well, all right, well, if you're going to sleep, I'm going to fight. Hey, the train's leaving, buddy. I'm fucking getting shit done.
We're gone. You're either coming or you're not.
And they ruled the 80s, man. Freddy and Jason ruled the 80s. Now, but to give credit where credit is due, Freddy and Jason have been sleeping for quite a few years, and Michael's been tearing it up. I will say this, I have always been curious if Freddy and Jason can get their fucking act together. Listen, Michael is ruling right now. Michael is no doubt the most popular one. Oh my God, I do a Halloween show and people tune in. I do a Halloween video and people want to know what's going on. Halloween, 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 Halloween. I get it, man. We're all Halloween. But if Freddie and Jason can get their act together, I cannot help but think that all those Fred heads and all those Jason mask heads, I don't know.
It could change.
It could, but they're asleep right now. They're just waiting. They're waiting for they're waiting for something to be excited about. They're waiting to be just as excited about for better or worse, there's been far more Halloween movies over the last 20 years than there have been, Freddy or Jason movies. So it'll be very interesting to see where the Fred heads are when Freddy comes back. So cool stuff. Okay, let's continue on here. A lot of super chats, but we like to be thorough. Tony and I like to give you guys your money's worth, as they say. Michael Myers sends a super chat, says, Dave, do you ever stop talking? I missed the film. No, I never stop talking. I don't stop talking. I don't. I just don't. I never do. See, I'm doing it right now. I can't even stop. Oh my God, I can't stop talking. What the hell is going on? I can't stop.
You should just stop talking. We should just stop talking for 1 minute and just sit here and just stare at the camera.
Yes, that's right. And stare into each other's eyes, very dreamlike.
Playing Dreamweaver.
That's it. Dreamweaver. Dream. Zane Zombie sends in a super chat. Thank you, buddy. Says Candyman and H Kills releasing.
Not to interrupt you, but they should have used that song we just sang.
No, fucking interrupt me. I never shut up. Sorry, say again.
No, you know what I mean? the last Dream song we just sang. That should have been in a Nightmare on Elm Street film.
It was in the remake, I think. I thought it was in the remake.
No. I'm talking like the original one. Like the original run. They should have used that somewhere, but maybe kind of a creepier version of that.
Yeah, they should have. They should have. You're right. They should have.
All right,
yeah, Zane Zombie says, Candyman and H Kills releasing feels like 95 again. Yeah, there you go. Let's hope they're better. Fat Armstrong just supporting the channel. Thank you, buddy. Zane Zombie follows up with maybe Michael comes back next in Halloween. Maybe Michael comes back next in Halloween Ends. Yeah, he is coming back in Halloween Ends. Yeah. David Coe sends...
Maybe he means coming back after Halloween Ends.
No, maybe after Halloween Ends? I don't know. I have no idea. Hey, I'm sure if the money's there... Money. David Coe says, the original opening idea to H18 is a good example of, and thank you for the super chat, buddy, very generous, by the way, is a good example of why studios are hesitant to give complete creative control to a writer-director. However, could H2O have benefited from a single writer-director? You guys rock. Sorry, the original opening idea... Oh, I see. The original... Oh, my God. Yeah, you know about that, right, Tony? The original opening with... They were...
Redoing the ending of the original film.
They were going to have Loomis go into
showing us Michael getting captured and shit.
No, the original in an early draft of H18, because Gordon Green and McBride wanted to sort of reset it, kind of bring everybody up to speed, right? Okay, well, there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. I want to bring everybody. Okay, that's fine.
Oh, is this the Michael goes left or right thing?
No, well, kind of. Look, okay, so. They originally wanted to reshoot the opening of the 1978 movie. Okay. I don't know why you just don't use the footage, but okay, fine, cool. You want to put your little thing on? Okay, fine. But what they wanted to do, this is so fucking incompetent, and it was in an early draft, apparently. It wasn't just an idea, it was written down. They were going to have Dr. Loomis come up the stairs, shoot Michael. Michael gets pushed into the back of the room, right? You know how he gets, with the mask and puts the back of the room. Dr. Loomis goes in, has a toe-to-toe confrontation with Michael. Michael ends up killing Loomis, and Laurie is the one that shoots him 6 times off the balcony.
What in the fuck? I did not read that. I am so glad I didn't do that.
That, and Carpenter was like, what are you doing? Why do you want to change the ending? Why do you... Just say that he...
Why is this even an idea?
Why is this even an idea? You're changing the ending of my movie. You're rendering millions of copies of the original film obsolete. So when I watch the original Halloween, it doesn't end the same way as this supposed sequel begins. Why would you do that? I mean, I understand, I get what they thought, but it's completely unnecessary. Ridiculous. Anyway.
I did not read that, but yeah, now that you're telling me that, no. I thought I read something about the going left, going right thing. That's what I read.
Look, it comes down to studio executives are not filmmakers. They are making decisions based on what is best for them business-wise. They follow trends, they follow the market, they follow what's cool, what's not, what's hip, what's not, what's in demand, what's not. But that doesn't mean that, that they don't make good decisions or, as well. They do. I think it depends on who you are. It depends what kind of cachet you have. But if you're working in the studio system in Hollywood making movies, there is no doubt that you will have studio executives breathing down your neck of what you can and cannot do. And they have the reasons of why you can and cannot do it. Having a really good relationship with the studio is important. If you want your creative ideas in the movie, then you better be really good at selling that to the studio of why this should be in here. Here's why it is integral to the story and to the movie. It's largely why you see director's cuts. Director's cuts are and not every studio does it, but a director's cut is just another way to make money, and that's why they do it. But a director's cut is the director's vision. So it's essentially with things in there that the studio didn't want in there, or they had to leave on the cutting room floor because there wasn't enough time, or whatever the case is. So I think it just comes down to the relationship that you have with the studio. I don't think it's black and white, but it wasn't. But because it was in a first draft of the script, I cannot say that Universal or Blumhouse wasn't going to allow it. It was Carpenter that stepped in and said, I don't think you should do that, and here's why. And they decided against it. If Carpenter had not been there or not had said that, Blumhouse may have allowed them to do it.
And they probably wouldn't be doing Halloween Ends and Kills because it would have been a massive flop. It would have pissed so many fucking people off.
It would have. Smith's Grove sends in a super chat and says, D&T, do you guys play any instruments? I don't. Tony?
I mean, I kind of fool around on the guitar and the piano, but I couldn't tell you chords and I couldn't tell you keys and shit, but it's more like kind of just fucking around type shit. So, and I somehow managed to figure out melodies. That's really it.
That's awesome, though. That's really cool. Big G sends in a super chat, says, Annie is alive. She went into witness protection. Maybe she did. She's in witness protection. Can you imagine? Mar0289 sends in a generous super chat. Thank you very much, Mar. Says, as a 90s kid, I have a special place in my heart for Six. That makes sense. Yes, it's a hot mess. Hey, Six was the first Halloween film I saw in the movie theater. I think it was yours too, Tony, right?
Yep. It was.
Yes, it's a hot mess. I actually thought they did a decent job with mood and atmosphere. They did a great job with mood and atmosphere.
Great job with mood and atmosphere. Shitty story.
Yeah. Oh, great.
Shitty fucking story.
Oh, yeah, yeah. And I thought Marion Hagen was quite good. She was good. Yeah. Do you like anything about Six? I really like the mood and the atmosphere in Six. And
feels like October.
It does. Feels like October. Yeah, largely.
Paul Rudd was a decent Tommy Doyle. I mean, he was good.
Paul Rudd was okay. The only thing I didn't like about Paul Rudd, is that he doesn't look. I don't believe that he's the same kid. He doesn't look like that kid. Doesn't look like he'd grow up to look like that guy. You know what I mean? Whereas Anthony Michael Hall looks like. I believe that he could be that kid from '78.
But you're missing the whole big arc of Tommy Doyle. Tommy Doyle in the late 70s, he was there with Laurie looking at his comic books and going, Tarantula Man, Neutron Man. And he remembered that. It was embedded into his head. Then in the middle 90s, he started to utilize some of those skill sets of, looking out the window and stuff like that. Right. And then all of a sudden, at the end of Halloween, confronting Michael Myers and beating him, he's like, Dr. Loomis, I shall now be called Ant-Man.
Yes!
And he went to the MCU.
You're right. How could I miss that? So Ant-Man and the whole MCU is canon with Halloween.
There you go.
I didn't know that. You're right. You're right. You're totally bang on. Zane Zombie says in a super chat, says, meant Michael dies and comes back a year after Kills. Oh, I see what you're saying. A year after Kills. No, I think Kills and Ends are the same night. I think all three films are the same night. Oliver Mercer says, hey, Dave, I enjoyed your video you shared with your dad. Oh, thank you so much. I can see where you get your character from. Will you be uploading more? Yeah, I'll be uploading more in the future for sure. David Lee Barron sends in a super chat. Thank you, buddy. Says, dear Mr. David McRae Pichet. That's right. What do you think of Sam Raimi directing Doctor Strange 2 and making it the first superhero horror movie? FYI, today marks 18 years since original Spider-Man movie came out. Oh, I didn't know that. 2002.
I didn't know that they were going horror with Doctor Strange too.
I haven't even seen the first Doctor Strange.
I'm hearing it. I haven't seen the first one either.
Listen, I like Sam Raimi as a director. So I think I'm not a superhero expert, but I will say that knowing the little I do know about Doctor Strange and sort of that kind of character, I think Sam Raimi's a good fit. I think he's a good fit, but I haven't seen the first one, so I think he's a good fit.
Yeah.
You know?
For me, like I hung in there with the Avenger movies, but like I didn't stay with the MCU with the Captain Marvel and the Doctor Strange or Black Panther movies. I did see Spider-Man, but I'm kind of checked out now. Now that Endgame, I'm kind of done with it, and like the superhero stuff. So
Gotcha.
I don't think I'm even going to see the new Doctor Strange either.
Those first
no
two,
desire.
Yeah. Those first two Spider-Man movies, like back in 2002 and 2004, were great.
Oh, I really liked
them. Yeah, for their time, it was great. Jason Myers sends in a super chat. Thank you, Jason. Says, gentlemen, suppose Carpenter was on board from the beginning and embraced his original film and made a sequel or two back in the day and laid the series to rest. Would be viewed Exorcist-like now? Maybe. Carpenter. He says, gentlemen, suppose Carpenter was on board from the very beginning and embraced his original film, which he was. So he was on board from the very beginning. He embraced his original film, that he did. But he made a sequel. So he made a sequel or two back in the day and laid the series to rest, would be viewed Exorcist-like now. Well, here's the irony of your statement. The irony of your statement, Jason, is now he didn't direct Halloween 2. But he did make a sequel. It's called Halloween 2. He was a producer. He was the writer. He wrote it.
A 6-pack of beer and pizza.
He even directed. I believe he even. Yes, that's right. I believe he even directed a scene or two. He was there on set, and he did lay the series to rest. He killed Michael in the fire.
I mean, true.
So, and I think that goes back to my point earlier in the show where I was saying, can you imagine if there was no 3, 4, 5, or no, let's say there was 3 and there was, a couple other films like, I don't know, a Charlie Bowles or something, but there was no 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8 or Rob Zombie films. Again, what would the approach be to bringing Michael back now? Like, think of the hype around that now. Oh my God. Haven't seen him since 81. Wow. Dude, gives me goosebumps to think what could happen there. But yeah, no, I get what you're saying, Jason, but I think, my answer would be that he kind of did. I think you mean from a director's standpoint though, right?
I think so, yeah.
I think it would be the same. I mean, since Carpenter wrote Halloween 2, I think to see him directing Halloween 2,
too, right?
I'm not sure if Deborah Hill wrote Halloween 2.
I thought she co-wrote that with him.
She might have. Let's see.
Maybe she co-produced it.
Oh, she's definitely a part of it. Yeah, she produced it. And it was, she's credited as writer as well. How much of it she wrote, I'm not entirely sure. But certainly, yeah. I mean, so Halloween 2 was produced by Deborah Hill and John Carpenter, written by Deborah Hill and John Carpenter. So, I mean, it was directed by Rick Rosenthal, but I mean...
That's, I got to tell you, that's the one. Donald Pleasance would almost be impossible because he'd be way old right now. But Deborah Hill, had she not gotten sick and not died, she still would be, she'd be up there, like in John's same age as John. But that's like a one key element to all of this that I wish she was here to be, to be with John and Jamie Lee and to, watch them and, be interviewed together and whatnot. I wish she could be around and alive to be a part of all this.
Yes, exactly. Michael Myers sends a super chat, says, Dave, do you talk in your sleep? I imagine you do every night, man. Every night. I never shut the fuck up. I'm talking all the time. Bringer of Chaos says, thank you for the super chat, buddy. Says, missed the episode. Can't wait to rewatch it. I think this is one of the worst portrayals of the Shape in the franchise. The sit-up is atrocious. The sit-up I do not like. Listen, and it's not personal to Chris Durand, okay? I'm sure he's a sweetheart of a guy. I've heard great things about him. But I'm just not, I wasn't a big fan of, again, you put Chris, in more nuanced, subtle scenarios under different lighting. You never know. You know what I'm saying? You never, like Tony's idea there with the thing and you just kind of see him and he's just standing there.
Off
and
at
then
a
you
distance, right.
So I'm saying, man, Yeah, Tony knows his stuff.
That's what I mean. Like, for example, like, you know, in that scene what Dave's just talking about in H2O, where Michael's walking and Laurie's standing there and she's closing her eyes and he's still walking. Like, if he's just standing there, one, you're getting a call back to Laurie in the classroom looking across the street and seeing Michael. Michael's not fucking moving. He's just standing there. Michael's just standing there in the backyard. That's the way Michael should have been presented to Laurie early on. He's just this figure there, not moving. Make him move and it's just, whatever.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Flinner sends a super chat, says, what are you guys' biggest issues with H18? I had two major ones, which are complete lack of atmosphere and the whole Sartain subplot. Tony?
The whole fucking movie, man. We ain't got time for that. Shit. I do like the reverse pumpkin intro, though. That was really cool. I just, again, the reason why... Maybe my whole outlook on it will change after these next two films, because that does play a factor into the storytelling. I could accept the shit that happens in H18, but the whole point was this is supposed to retcon the series. I shouldn't be watching a movie where I'm being reminded of shit that's happened in the series when you're retconning the series. And then now even saying that and realizing that all this shit happens on the same night. Well, we did that already in the first two films. So basically we're rehashing what we did in the first two movies again, 40 years later, but we're going to break it up into 3 fucking movies. So that's one big issue. The Sartain thing, fucking, yeah, I fucking hate that. Because again, it brought me back to Halloween 6 and Dr. Wynn and all that fucking bullshit. Like, I've seen this before. I've seen a doctor who helps Michael out. I've seen that story arc and I fucking hated it the first time you did it to me. I'm not going to like it the second time. And just, like, I don't know. Just, yeah, I don't know. But here's the weird thing. Performance-wise, like, James was fucking great as Michael. I like Andy Matichak. I thought they could have used her a lot more. I thought she wasn't used enough. Jamie Lee was fine. I just not a fan of fucking Linda Hamilton, Laurie Strode, or Sarah Connor. Laurie Strode is what I meant to say.
I just brought up my, now I posted this on the 10th of January, 2019. So this is almost a year and a half old, but I just brought up on my screen here, my updated original Michael Myers films ranked. So 3 is not here. Rob Zombie's films are not here. So it's just kind of the original series, including H18. And this is how I've ranked them. Okay. Halloween 1978 is number 1, followed by Halloween 2 from 1981, followed by Halloween 4. I have Halloween 4 at my number 3. And then I have Halloween H18 at number 4. Then Halloween 6 at number 5. Then H2O, then 5, and then dead last is Resurrection. But
I like Rob Zombie's Halloween before the 2018 film.
Yeah, a couple of those movies could like, and again, that's January 2019. So that's only a couple of months after I saw the H18 movie.
Yeah.
And I said, when I first saw it, I said, this is likely to change. I said, because, you know, you let things marinate, you let things sit with you for a while, right? You have more of an objective perspective. I knew, like, that's sort of where it fell to me when I first saw it. But now I could probably put 6 before 18 right now, not because I like 6's story better, but because of the atmosphere, you know. Anyway, the question was, yeah, what are you guys' biggest issues, with H18? For me, it was a lack of, I agree, a lack of
original ideas.
Well, no, for me, it was a lack of atmosphere, and the film was largely void of any suspense. And I didn't feel that the important elements of the original Halloween were carried over. I like the logistical execution of the tracking shot following Michael, like in principle of the shot. I think the shot is a cool idea, but I don't like the lighting of it. I don't like seeing Michael the way that we did, as often as we did. The Sartain, I like Dr. Sartain. I like his character. I loathe what they did with him.
Yes, I agree with that. I like him before the turn. Before the turn, I'm totally cool with the character. The turn, fuck no.
Yeah. So, you know, I mean, there's other issues, but I think just I mean, again, I think the strongest part of the movie was Jamie Lee Curtis as Laurie Strode. Now, I'm not talking about whether you compare her to H2O but it's not like Jamie Lee Curtis was phoning it in. I mean, she brings her A game, and whether you prefer the H2O version, you know, that's a separate thing, but she's definitely bringing her A game. And she, and I thought she was probably the strongest part of the movie. Because it's still her story. I think that's the thing, is that I didn't care about Andy or Karen and Allison, because it still was Laurie's story. So anyway, just void of mood, atmosphere. I like the bus crash scene. There's some mood and atmosphere there. I like that. But the film was largely void of suspense and fall atmosphere, and utilizing the shape, you know, better.
Agreed.
Super chat, Mr. Bates says, yo, love that hat and beard, Tony. Everybody loves your hat and beard, Tony, my man.
Cool. I'm living in my Amish paradise.
That's right.
Little Weird Al for you.
That's right. Jason Meyer says, meant he wanted to direct a sequel or two. What to do with it is vision and not writing it, and being involved for the cash. All the OGs involved. I don't know. It's a good question. I mean, listen, Carpenter has some stinkers. You know, not every movie Carpenter's done has been great. Every director has a stinker.
Every creator has.
Every creator has a stinker. You know, there's no guarantees that it's me, Billy's going to be great. Although we're setting ourselves up to make it great, right? We'll see what happens.
We're working hard for it, you know. Yeah,
we're working hard for it. But I don't know. I think you largely have it. I do. I think Halloween 2 is largely what Carpenter would have done, because Carpenter sat down. He was approached to write a sequel, and Carpenter hates writing. He hates writing. It's tough. And he was like, all right. So I still think he would have, if he was on board from the beginning. Well, he kind of, I get what you're saying. Like you're saying, you know, if he was excited about it, I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't think I think he, because of the way the original film was set up, it's almost impossible, because you have to change the foundation of the character. Then Carpenter knew what he had. He knew what he had in Halloween. He knew what he had in Michael. He knew what Michael was, and most importantly, he knew what Michael wasn't. And I think that's why he was so reluctant to return for a sequel, because he's like, what are you talking about? This is just a little like Hitchcock thing. Like what? You want to continue this? I don't know what the fuck. I don't know who he is. He's just what? Now I got to make all this stuff up. Like what? So I kind of think that we kind of got it in part 2. I think we got it, you know, it's kind of how I feel anyway. Traproot Scoot says, missed the video.
Traproot Scoot. I like
Traproot Scoot. Oh, sorry. Taproot Scoot. Taproot Scoot. Excuse me.
Still like the name.
Yeah, it's good. Missed the video. Here H2O though. Missed H2O though. Missed the mark. H2O, Halloween H2O missed the mark. In my opinion, just felt like a teen drama, but maybe that's why 78 felt like to some people. I don't know. Thanks. It's entirely possible. It's entirely possible, my man. Entirely possible. I just felt that, you see, although the original Halloween is, you can point to some of it's a little cheesy now. You know, some of the acting's kind of cheesy. I would have to speak to somebody who watched that movie in the 70s to find whether or not they felt that way then, or if it was just a product of its 70s, right? I don't get the feeling that Halloween was self-aware. H2O feels a little self-aware for me. Not scream self-aware, but, you know.
I think it also depends on the people you talk to, too, because here's an example. The girls that I work with on my photo shoots, who I have play as the final girls or the victims, almost all of them have told me their favorite Halloween is the Rob Zombie Halloween. Now, the reason why I say that, most of these girls are between the ages of 22 and 26.
Yeah.
So when I deduct the to Rob Zombie's Halloween, they're about in that age where to them that would have been their first introduction to Michael Myers. Right. So I understand that. So it's interesting. Right. Some, like, I don't knock them or you know, diss them for that. You know what I mean? Because I would never do that to anyone. That's the one they like. So it's just interesting sometimes when you talk to person, especially if you're a fan of the genre, what they like, because everyone's going to have a different answer.
And here's, you know, for those of you watching, here's the real crux of why I love the original Halloween. I don't profess or hopefully I've never given the impression that I believe it is a perfect movie. It's not a perfect movie. What it is a perfect example of the kind of horror. Now, it's dated, right? It's dated. You have to watch it within its context, okay? I wasn't born until 1979, so I didn't have an opportunity to see it within that context. But it's the perfect example for its time, but it's the perfect example of the kind of horror that I like. It's the perfect example of what I think is truly scary. Now, that doesn't mean that somebody who grows up now is going to find Halloween scary. That doesn't mean that. You have to watch it within its context. You have to watch it keeping in mind that this is 1978. Oh my God, can you imagine? It's like watching Jaws, right? There are kids right now probably like, what? But when you think about it, can you imagine sitting at 1975? Bum, 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 bum. Holy fuck. Like The Exorcist. Can you, look, are there kids today going, what? Well, that looks so...
I said, like, The Exorcist is the one movie I wish I could have been alive to see.
100%. You have to think, it's like Psycho. Imagine its context. People laugh. I'm not saying everybody, but I can understand people getting sort of a kick out of Psycho now. But Psycho was the first one of, if not the very first North American movie in motion picture history to show a toilet flushing. That's how innocent of a time we were living in, ladies and gentlemen. That's how, think about that. Think about that.
Think about where we are now as a culture in that 1960, people would have been offended by seeing a toilet flush.
Yes, it was a very private area. Seeing a bona fide starlet, a star like Janet Leigh naked. Now she's not naked, but the alluding to her being topless was, oh my God, my goodness, what the hell? You didn't see that in movies in 1960. To see a star, a beautiful starlet, Hollywood royalty murdered with a butcher knife, with blood spewing into the bathtub, with this shadow stabbing her. Now, you don't see it going into the skin, but that's ding, 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 wee, 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 wee. I mean, my God, it was terrifying. Terrifying.
By ultimately what we find out at the end, a man dressed as a woman. They weren't doing that shit in the 60s or the 50s and 40s.
The psychological ramifications of the entire
good on you,
what you have to think about. 100%.
Pushed it to the wall there with that shit.
Can you look at Psycho and go, what the hell is it's so old? Yes. But you have to watch these movies within its context. So Halloween,
and if Hitchcock doesn't take those chances, who knows where we are with the horror genre.
Knows? When I look at Halloween, I think it is beautifully done. It is a beautiful example of one of the last remaining examples of that style of horror, when that was horror. Because we were moving into more gratuitous violence, right? The 70s, there was a lot of torture porn, a lot of those, Texas Chainsaw, a lot of real B movie blood, and then it really started to take off in the late 70s, early 80s.
Chainsaw in torture porn?
No. I'm just saying,
there's no blood in it. Well, hardly any blood.
No, right. But I'm just saying that you began to see with Texas, you began to see sort of that suggestion, right? Like that. Oh my God, right? You know what I mean? And it's like, whoa, like we're starting to get sort of heavy.
You're getting
now.
Like the Meat Cleaver Massacre.
Right, exactly. So Halloween. Black Christmas, Halloween, and there was a couple others in the 70s, but it was a dying breed, because we were starting to move into, Halloween's considered a slasher. If Halloween didn't have sequels, there's nothing really slasher. I mean, look, I know it's a guy in a mask stalking teenagers. Okay, yeah, but it's not a. It's a. I think we need to, and I'm planning on doing a video on this. We need to think about slasher versus splatter. I think they're two different things. There's a splat. I think there's a splatter and there's slasher.
Yep.
Yeah. But anyway, so I think it's a great example of, and one of the last examples of that kind of, more mature theater of the mind horror, which went away for years because of the slasher subgenre. Now we're starting to see it kind of come back a bit with more of the psychological films now. But it's not a perfect movie, but it's a perfect example of old school horror. And, it's just, and it's so different from any of the sequels. So anyway, we got to get rolling here. Jesus, we're coming up to 3 hours. We got super chats.
And you got a lot of super chats to answer.
Great stuff, guys. You guys are amazing. Mars0289 says, do you think it would have been a cute meta wink to the fans of the series if they'd cast Danielle Harris as Laurie Strode's daughter in H18?
Oh boy, here we go. I know what he's going to say.
Sometimes I think people ask these questions just to keep me around. I will say that I agree with you. Yes, I think that is exactly why they would have done it. I think that's exactly what it would have been. But they didn't do that because it's unnecessary to do so. I think that in order for... My view has always been, of course I'm not saying you can't do it. You can do anything you want. You can have Michael dress up in a fucking McDonald's uniform if you wanted to.
Or a tutu.
But I think when it's you have to ask yourself this. As a fan of Danielle Harris, you are a fan of her portrayal of Jamie Lloyd. You are a fan.
Halloween 4 Jamie Lloyd.
Halloween 4 Jamie Lloyd.
That's
or Halloween,
key. Not 5, not 6. Halloween 4.
But you could be 5 as well because they're connected, but definitely not 6 because it's, JC Brandy. I think it's Brandy. Yeah. Anyway, you love that Jamie Lloyd. That's what you want. That's what you want, right? You want Jamie Lloyd. The problem is that if you were to cast Jamie Lloyd or Danielle Harris as Jamie Lloyd in Halloween H18, which you could do, they could have done it. It's not the same Jamie Lloyd. It's an alternate reality Jamie Lloyd because Halloween 4 and 5 don't exist. Right. So all those things that like when you watch a series,
this Laurie Strode is not an alternate. It's just Laurie Strode from 1978 to now.
That's right.
Just so different timeline.
So it still is the original.
Right.
Laurie, when you watch a story and you get invested emotionally in characters, you get invested in their arcs. You get invested in their journeys. If you want Danielle Harris to come back as Jamie Lloyd, that's fine, but she would be Jamie Lloyd in name only. She would have no recollection of anything that happened in 4 because it doesn't exist. She would have no recollection of anything that happened in 5, which maybe is for the better part of the society. But from a story perspective and from a character arc perspective, it's moot. It's pointless because you're sitting there and you're like, wow, there they are, Jamie Lloyd and Laurie together again, but they're not together again because it's not the same Jamie Lloyd. You're starting from scratch. It's irrelevant. It's an alternate reality. However, if you just want Danielle Harris in the movie because you like Danielle Harris, well, then knock yourself out. But I don't think that's what we want. I think it would be a disservice to her to have her, nobody wants to see Danielle Harris as a convenience store clerk in a cameo for 30 seconds while Judy Greer's Karen is buying a pack of gum. I mean, nobody wants to see that, right? You want to see Danielle Harris as Jamie Lloyd, but it's not Jamie Lloyd. It's an alternate reality Jamie Lloyd because it just it wouldn't make sense. So that's how I feel about it, is that so because of that, it's unnecessary. And listen, if they made a sequel to Halloween 4, we've talked about this. Sorry, Tony, I'll let you go here in a second because I know you're ready to go. If they made a sequel to Halloween 4 and they cast somebody else as Jamie Lloyd, that would make no sense. I'm like, you fucking cast Danielle Harris because it is the same Jamie Lloyd then. So you go back and get her. But there'd be no reason to cast. There's just no reason for it now. Sorry. Go ahead.
Well, no, what I was going to say is if their approach on this 2018 film was more in line of we're going to keep Halloween 1 and 2 and 4 within the timeline, then it would make sense because could you imagine the dialogue conversation? Because you could have Aaron still doing his documentary podcast thing, right?
100%.
And he's sitting down having that conversation with Lori, and his next question to Lori is, "So how do you feel about your own daughter attacking her stepmother on Halloween night?"
Right?
Now, could you imagine a scene like that,
dude? That's
you know
great,
what I mean?
because all you would have to do is say that now. But again, a lot of the things that they were trying to avoid, like Michael and Lori being brother sister, all that now is canon again, which a lot of fans would absolutely love. But you're right. If H18 was a sequel to 4, pretending 5, 6, and 7 and 8 don't exist, then you bring back Danielle Harris, because then it's the continuation of the character's arc that you've fallen in love with,
which would make an interesting story. Because how would you play Danielle Harris off in that? Where is she at now later on in life? You know, we're retconning 5 and 6, so
yeah.
What has she gone through since that night, since being on top of the staircase, having scissors in her hand after just attacking her stepmother?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like that.
Right.
And playing off of that as Lori maybe feeling like she's a failure as a parent. You know, maybe she thought she was doing the right thing, but it backfired on her.
Because you find out that Lori lied, she faked her own death, put her daughter, who was maybe an infant at the time or whatever, into foster care. And now there's this relationship, this reconnecting between Jamie and Lori. And Jamie is, instead of the podcasters, Jamie is the one that goes searching for Laurie Strode. Jamie's the one.
There's a lot they could have done with that. There's a lot of good storytelling they could have done with that, and they missed out on. But hey,
I agree.
We don't write the checks and own the companies.
That's true. That's true. We will soon, though. We will soon. Filthy Dan says, unrelated to Halloween, but I was thinking that for episode 100, it would be cool if you guys ranked your 100 favorite films, movie moments. Ooh, not bad.
Long list.
Yeah, Tony and I haven't discussed episode 100 yet because we're still a little bit away. But
we're gonna do it naked.
We're gonna do it buck naked, man.
Butt naked.
In the nude. The nude. The nude. Nude. It's great. Nude. Okay, let's just do it nude. Okay, where am I in super?
No, but we are coming up on that though, right?
We're at we're only at 68 right now. So another 10, 20, another 30 something episodes. Soon though.
That'll be in like 2021 somewhere, I think.
Yeah. Mr. Bates sends in a super chat, says, curious, Dave, what's your favorite TV show? Of all time right now? Of all time? I don't know. I'm not a big TV show guy. I would say of all time, I probably got to go like nostalgic, go back to like, I don't know, like, Elf when I was a kid, or Three's Company, or I love that as a kid. I love Three's Company as a kid. I like The King of Queens. I think that's a funny show. Notice that I'm very retro.
Yeah, they had great chemistry.
Great chemistry.
What was her name?
Kevin James and Leah Remini. Yeah. Now I don't watch a lot of TV now. Like I'd say I like, Stranger Things, and I like Dark. If you guys watch Dark on Netflix, that's great. Really cerebral and intense. So I think you guys really like that. And I'm looking forward to season 2 of The Society. I actually got into that. So I don't know, Tony, what about you?
Cheers. I've said that many times.
Cheers, of course.
Yeah,
cheers. Oh my God. And how can I forget? How can I get Frasier? Frasier's fucking amazing. Yeah. I love Frasier. Frasier's one of my favorite shows of all time.
Always, forever. Yeah, I'm like Dave. I watch, dude, and I just got it and it's on its way. I got a retro 80s television. I've got all the components to hook up so that I can watch all the shit on, like all the old shows that we watch on an 80s retro television, which I'm also going to use in my upcoming photo shoots too.
That's it. There's a place near me that sells old junk and shit. I'm going there. I'm getting one. I've got to get one.
It's totally refurbished. And I cannot, the guy sending it to me, I cannot fucking wait to watch old school shows like the way we watched it. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like it's cool to watch it on the flat screen and stuff like this. But to watch it on a retro, like to watch Cheers again on a retro TV, I can't wait.
Yeah. Dude, that's
Home Improvement. Home Improvement
was good.
I liked
Seinfeld, but like the first 4 or 5 seasons.
Yeah, and same with Home Improvement. Like Home Improvement for me, I like the early episodes, like the first like 4 seasons when the kids were young, because when the kids got older, it lost its charm. The charm of Home Improvement is when the kids are little and it's the young parents raising these kids in the early 90s. And obviously we're the same age as the kids too, so we could relate to it as well.
In a lot of cases, a lot of sitcoms lose charm when the kids get older. You could say that.
Absolutely.
You could say that about the Cosby Show.
Yeah.
I mean, you can say Full House, 100%.
Growing Pains.
Oh yeah,
the same way
for sure.
The only one that actually hung in there was Family Ties. Family Ties from start to beginning, mainly because Michael J. Fox was already a teenager at the time, so you didn't watch him really. I
actually think he was. I think he was like 22 or 23,
portraying a teenager. So
portraying somebody who was like 4 or 5 years younger. Yeah.
Whereas like Full House and Home Improvement, those kids were kids. Like they were like little kids. And you're right. When any show from the 80s, as those shows got older and the kids got older, the charm was gone.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Right, next question.
James Harrison sends in a super chat. Thank you, buddy. He says, hello, Dave and Tony. I've never sent a chat before, but I absolutely love and watch all your videos and shows. Keep up the great work, guys. Thank you so much, James. Really appreciate that, man. Nick sends in a super chat and says, speaking of great mood and atmosphere, have you guys seen The Elephant Man, 1980? Oh, and Tony, you'd recognize a very familiar sack on his head. I know the movie you're talking about, but I have not seen it. I have got to see The Elephant Man.
The only other, I've not, because the only other sackhead besides Jason that I know of is the Town That Dreaded Sundown, which we got to do on this show.
Oh, dude, we totally got to do that. We totally.
But there's two versions. Do you want to do the newer one or do you want to do the old school one?
Well, we got to do the old
school
one.
I like the old school one.
Yeah. We're totally doing the old school one. Mars0289 sends in a very generous super chat. Thank you so much, my friend. Says, just to clarify from earlier, I didn't mean she would be named Jamie Lloyd. She'd still be Karen. Similar to how they had little things nodding to the sequels in the series, while technically, I don't think fans would want that. I think that would feel almost
a cheap, cash grab.
Yeah, a cheap sort of disservice. And I don't think, although I don't know for sure because I don't know her personally, I'd be surprised. Although money, I would be surprised if Danielle Harris accepted that. Because although she did accept Annie and Rob Zombie's films.
But it's he's remaking it. He's starting it all over, and he's giving her that character. So it doesn't affect the character that she's really most known for. Let's be real. No one really talks about Annie. They talk about Jamie Lloyd with her.
I agree. No, it's a good point. Yeah. But I wouldn't want to see her that way. I just wouldn't. Unless H18 was a sequel to Halloween 4, I think you got to move on. I think you just have to move on. Yep. Okay. Hey, a non-super chat question. Let's try one.
I know you guys. I just want to make sure. I know you got some big ones, and I want to make sure you don't miss out on those. You had some very generous super chats.
The super chat. I've got them all as far as I know. Right, cool. But anybody in the chat room, let me know if I've missed any, and I will certainly go back and take a look. Darren Sands, my man, still in the chat. It's got to be late where Darren is. Says The Elephant Man has just had a great 4K restoration. Amazing movie. I know. I've got to see this. I've got to see it. Michael Meyer says, Dave, have you thought about making a Discord? Yes, many times. Blu-ray Addict says, I'm looking forward to the Wrong Turn reboot. I think I saw the first Wrong Turn, but I don't think I've seen any of the.
Yeah, I saw the first one, and that was pretty much it for me.
Yeah. You take a couple there, Tony.
DMT Infinity, Dave Tony as artists. What is the one thing y'all look back on in y'all's career? You must be from the South, I reckon.
Well, that's damn fucking right, man.
And think,
fuck you, man. Come on.
And think, I regret doing that. And what did you all learn from that experience? There's a lot, man, because I think you're always growing as an art. At least I feel that way. You're always growing as an artist, and learning from your mistakes. Mistakes I think are great because I think for me anyways, I do learn from my mistakes. I do go, okay, I'm not going to fucking do that. There's the perfect example. It's why I stopped. One of the main reasons why I stopped shooting with them was the first people that I was originally working with on my photos. The girl that was featured a lot, she would only want to shoot with her boyfriend, and she wouldn't let her boyfriend shoot with any other girls. And I'm like, well, you're fucking tying my hands behind. It's not like I'm going to have them have sex. Okay. He's playing a killer. She's a fucking victim. And it was just like little fucking shit like that
Yep.
And then I would have girls that I would, you know, set up a shoot with and all, like, prep everything, buy props and all this fucking shit. And then, like, 2 days before the shoot, fucking flake on me because their boyfriends were like, oh, I don't want you doing that, you know? So, like, there's little fucking things like that that I've had to learn, not so much with getting guys to play the part, but working with girls on, like, asking questions ahead of time. Like, one, do you have a fucking OJ Simpson for a boyfriend? Okay, who's gonna fucking be overprotective and doesn't want you to do shit? And number two, do you care if your boyfriend plays a killer for me that he's in a scene with another person? Like, these are things that I didn't think about initially when I started doing my horror themed photo shoot, because you have to, like, when I mentioned about the video that I stumbled across on YouTube here of the kids back in the 80s making that Friday the 13th film, you have to understand, I come from a generation like Dave does, where when we did this shit, no one was like, I had a makeout scene done where there was two people who were not dating each other. They weren't involved with each other at all. This is in high school now, in my Halloween fan film that I made back in high school. And they did the scene, and the girl had a boyfriend at the time, and her boyfriend was there, and he was totally cool with her doing the scene. Like, I had never experienced this type of thing with people before. And I don't know if it's just a different time now. This is the way younger people are. So these were things that I've had to learn, which is stupid because it's just fucking photo and we're not doing anything bad. But those are some of the things that were like, okay, I got to make sure I ask these fucking questions ahead of time so that I don't fucking end up in a stupid situation.
Yeah. Yep. For me, I would say, and we got to get out of here. Let's go another 5 minutes, 5-minute countdown, and then we got to skedaddle because I got to get out of here. I would say, and it's been 3 hours. Wow, 3 hours. Not surprising though. You guys have been amazing tonight.
Yes.
Great stuff. I would say, I can't think of anything off the top of my head, but I will say this, is that not to cheap out on cheap equipment. When I was first starting my career, I was trying to sort of, I'll buy this, or I'll kind of cheap out on that. And it comes to bite you. I mean, you do pay what you get, or you get what you pay for. And I will say that I learned that fairly quickly early on. So I know to, save up for the proper stuff and buy the stuff that I need, but it also is indicative for the level that you're working at. I mean, you don't have to go out right away and buy all the best, right away, but it's certainly something that I learned is not to cut corners around quality early on in my career in terms of my microphone or my preamp or, my monitors or, whatever it is.
Well, I think that's important, especially because if, for example, with your It's Me, Billy, you're making an investment into this project, okay? Props and all this. Like, why would you shoot it on a fucking shitty ass fucking camera if you're making all this investment into to give us something fucking,
And to be fair, no, you're 100% right. And to be fair, it's not just me making the investment. It's all of you guys in the chat room that are going to, donate and they're putting their hard-earned money into the campaign because they believe in me to be able to spearhead this and bring it to life. And then, and then it's my hard work that's going to go into it. And, we're all a team here. I mean, it's no, you're right. You're right. But I mean, this is why it costs a lot of money, to do stuff. So I'm sure there is something that I've said or done that I regret. I know there is, but I can't think of something off the top of my head in terms of my career. All right. 4 more minutes, ladies and germs. 4 more minutes. Toronto Freddy sends a super chat, says, I've said this before, boys, but Bates Motel. He wants me to watch Bates Motel on Netflix. I know I got to do it. I got to do it, my man, Aaron. Michael Dean says, you guys ever watch Walking Dead? Never have.
No, even though it's filmed in my backyard, literally.
Greg Nicardo does great on the special effects. And Tony, you're from Georgia. Do you know the locations that they filmed at?
Yes, I do. I've actually done not the most recent Freddy picture. Okay, so the Freddy picture where the girl's butt cheeks are showing, that was actually shot in one of the... It was filmed in one of the abandoned plantation homes. That's where they filmed some scenes for The Walking Dead in that house. And I'm guessing that's some of the shit they left behind. And I'm like, thank you. What you leave behind, I'm using for my own fucking photos.
That's great. You should. Do you make note of that too when you post the photos?
I only do that. I need to do that because I only do that for the Jason pictures because I shoot most of my Jason pictures up at the location where they filmed Friday 6.
Right.
So I do make sure I acknowledge that. But except now that may have just changed here because I just stumbled across. I don't even know like how this happened, but someone had sent me a message. I don't have the person's name, but on Instagram they say, "Hey, dude, there's this abandoned campground up in Dahlonega, Georgia, that you might be interested in taking some Friday the 13th pictures." I'm like, abandoned? I know most of the things around. I never heard of this. Sure enough, I looked at it. It's this abandoned campground on top of a fucking mountain, totally fucking secluded.
Wow.
And it was a place for troubled kids, and it sets back to the 50s, and the shacks and everything are still there.
Oh,
so I made
this is in Georgia.
This is in Georgia, 1 hour from where I live.
Damn.
I Google Earthed it and I saw it. And I'm like, holy fuck balls! Like I'm about to take my Jason pictures from here to fucking here. Dude,
that's amazing.
Yeah. Everything is still intact. And it's from, like I said, it's from the fucking 50s. So it's like, it's got a very old campground vibe to it.
Wow.
And there's a little lake there. It's not big. It's not like where I do the photos now. We're at the Friday 6 location where it's a big ass fucking lake, but it's enough to create some dope shit.
That's exciting, man. That's really, really, really cool. Really cool.
And I thought about using that when I get there. I'm going to take some shots because I thought about using that as an opening, my intro to my Friday the 13th fan film, as the campground maybe being
get a drone shot.
You know, right? Like it's been closed. This is what it looked like, and then fast forward. It's being reopened by the
I like it.
Yeah.
I like it. That's not bad. That's not bad. That's good stuff. Hey, listen, folks, that's going to do it for Tony and I on episode 68 of Two Dudes and Some Bullshit. Man, this was a good one, man. You guys were on fire tonight watching Halloween H20 with us and listening to our thoughts as we went on there. If you want to follow me on Instagram and Twitter, it's right below my window there. If you want to follow Tony on Instagram, it's right below his window. He has 2 Instagram pages. Make sure you follow him on both. We will be back next Monday, returning to our original time, unless otherwise posted, of course, 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'll be back Tuesday morning at 11 o'clock
a.m.
The Sound
of Music, so make sure you join us for the Sound of Music.
We're not watching the Sound
Julie
of Music.
Andrews.
No, we're not doing that, but maybe we should. That'd be funny. I'll be back Tuesday morning at 11 a.m. unless I do a standalone video, which sometimes I do. Tony, any last things you want to say?
No, good crowd, good show. Great questions. Fun time tonight, guys. Appreciate it.
Yeah, great time. Thank you to my moderators. Thank you to Darren Sands, Jason Knight, Tabitha Short, and Frank Riker. Of course, you guys always keep the chat flowing. Really appreciate that. And thank you to everybody who supported the channel via Super Chats. Really appreciate that. Your support and generosity, of course, does not go unnoticed or unappreciated. And thank you to all the non-Super Chat questions as well. Sorry, we didn't have time to get to a lot of those. There were a lot of Super Chats tonight, which is always great. But don't worry, we are doing these shows all the time. You will have another opportunity. So, yeah, in the meantime and in between time, that's it for us. Now I'm going to go to sleep and talk in my sleep because I never shut up. All right, guys. We'll talk to you soon. Cheers.